Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Oh, the drops page is not up, my man. Well, that was a hell of a start today. Small little horn, little air horn, small little hype horn. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody. How we doing?
Not too bad. I'll tell you what. I think driving is worse at 5:30 in the morning. Everyone is a big jerk. No one will let you in.
At 5:30 in the morning? You have people on the road?
Yeah, all over the place in Vancouver.
Really?
Actually, I concur with Will on this.
Yeah, it was today was the first time where I allowed myself a little extra sleep on the morning. I get worried about the morning show, don't want to sleep in.
Oh.
And so it's like,
buddy, I could list at least 35 times doing this slot where I have panic woke up and I'm like, I've gotten ready. I woke up and I'm like, oh my God. And I've run to my closet and I've gotten ready. I start brushing my teeth and my clock says 1:45 a.m.
oh yeah.
And my brain did not process that information.
You're just like, I'm up. And if I'm up, it must mean that I'm late.
Yes. And I've also had the reverse. I've had the awake, alarm off, because I have like 4 alarms.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I have to.
I have 10.
And you shut your eyes for a second instead of getting up. And you're like, oh my God, and I have to leave now. And I one time I raced in here. I left my house. I live in Damascus. I left my house at 5:32.
Ooh.
Was that like a 559er?
And I literally rolled in. Dirt was sitting down. I rolled in and the open was ending. And I had pulled my hype horn out. And so as I'm sitting down, I'm like, brr, 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 and I'm like getting my headphones set up and I'm talking on the mic and I'm kind of breathing hard. And I'm like, I don't know how that happened.
It's about 6:01 for everybody out there, I think,
Yeah.
is what that times out to.
Yes.
Made it perfectly. Yeah. See, and I wasn't in that much of a rush. Like when I'm coming in on this show, the first alarm is at 4 and it's set all the way until 5:59. Like there is danger.
Why would you have an alarm set at 59?
Right?
Well,
You're already late. You're already screwed.
Yeah,
Don't come in.
No, I'm making it in. I'll fight through and then I'll just like make a joke about it. I'll be like, grandma got ran over by a reindeer. Like I wasn't able to get in. Something happened. You know, I got to figure out a lie. But so I have all these alarms set. The shower just felt it was nice this morning.
Oh,
It
you
was
took
cold.
a shower?
I always take a shower in the morning. I take a shower in the morning, and then I always take a shower after I work out. So I'm a 2 shower a day
You're
guy.
a 2 shower a day guy.
Dude, I am a big dude.
Yeah.
I was a much bigger dude.
Yeah.
Can't be the smelly big guy.
No, you don't want to be smelly big guy, for sure.
Although that probably is why I lost my hair, because I used to shampoo after every single shower. Learned that was a bad idea after I was already bald.
Yeah.
But
Some people have a belief that shampooing every day is not good for your hair.
yeah, that's
I know women go 2, 3, 4 days without doing
Well,
it.
mine smells after a day, so no, that I don't
Yeah.
subscribe to that rule. I also shower
Sure.
twice a day as well.
Yeah.
Your hair smells?
If I don't shower after like a day,
Yeah.
I'll start
Oh,
to
no.
notice a little funk coming out of there.
I'm just
Like,
talking about
no.
your hair in the shower.
Yeah.
I shower every day, but like, do you shampoo every day?
Yes, absolutely, twice.
Twice.
Well,
Wow.
I usually shower twice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't like that stank.
I used to do the same thing. But when I was coming in today, dude, no one would let me in. Like, I almost got into 3 wrecks. We're driving in on a merge.
Zipper merge. Yeah.
I'm clearly in the spot, ready to go. And this
Yep.
dude tries to speed up. So he's dead even with me. He had to drive on the shoulder. Then as I'm coming in, I'm trying to get over. You know, usually one car will pass. The other car sees that you're trying to get over, slows down. 5 cars just bumper to bumper. No, not letting you in at like 60, 65 miles an hour. It's like, oh my God. Just let someone in. If you follow the normal rules of the road, there's traffic, but everyone's still going the speed limit, or in some spots, we're still speeding at a safe distance, you know?
Most people, I think, at the time we have to come in for work and people driving right now,
Right.
I think most people are going at the minimum 70.
I had at least 3 people pass me doing 80 this
Well,
morning.
I'm
when I
saying
drive north.
I was going 71 and I was in the middle lane and I had cars just boom, 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 and whatever, you know, like I'm kind of one of those, if we need an Autobahn, Germany, like go as fast as you want, I'll get out of the way.
Right.
I think that's the underrated thing I've learned about driving as I get older is I'm not confrontational and I actually just bow down. Like you want
just
it,
give in,
take it. I
have it.
don't care enough to want to play this game with you with our, you know, our big things of steel back and forth.
Right. See, and that's where I lean to. Like, if it push comes to shove, I'll give in. But today was a bit ridiculous. I got mad. Some people,
Yeah,
look,
some days
they're
it's going to
number
be
one.
stupid. Yeah.
Some people found out that I thought they were number one, and that
Yeah.
happens. And maybe they got called other names that they probably didn't hear because their windows were up and mine were up too. But in my car, they got called some names.
You guys are like the two guys in New York. Have you seen that video? It came out like 4 years ago. It's two guys in New York, and they're walking on the sidewalk, and they're flipping each other off. And then one guy has to cross the street, and he's crossing the street slowly, but he's backing on the street, and they just keep flipping each other off. Like, that's their confrontation. No fighting, no words. It's just a bunch of back and forth like 9 times.
That is why the East Coast, especially the Northeast, sucks.
Well, that's-
Angry people.
Oh, a lot of them.
Man.
That's why they're called. Well, I don't know that I can say the word for Massachusetts people.
You cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. See, so that's a good self-censor on my part.
Mayholes? Is that
There
what
you
you're-
go. That's
Why
fine.
can't you say it? Is that an
Because
FCC thing?
Well, if you say the actual term, then it's the word just with an M in front of it.
I
You
mean,
can't-
but that
you can't-
makes it not the word.
But well,
Is it a different word? Do we need Webster's on this?
If
Can
you
we
put a
call
P
them?
in front of an F and then you spell UCK, what would you say that word is?
I'm not gonna. Don't.
You don't wanna attempt
don't,
that?
Is this
don't.
like? Is this like?
I don't want Bossman be like, Schultze, you had a good run. We're gonna have to let you go.
Is this like fat and fat? You know, you
yeah,
fat with
PH,
a FAT,
yes,
PH.
yes.
PH is cool.
There are
F is not.
a-holes, and then there's people from Massachusetts who are specific types of a-holes, and they're called?
I like the one that you just came.
Nobody's going to say it, huh?
Not,
We're
dude, not
terrified.
even
up with. You
risking
said
it.
mayholes. I like that.
Not even
That's
risking
fine.
it. I taught yesterday. It was a rough teaching day. I'm not risking not being able to come back in here.
Yeah, you don't. Hey, we can't have you back in the school. You said mayholes on the radio today.
Oh, see, that's the thing. The school would be like, "Nah, dude, you're fine." I can't have the boss man calling in like head suit. Yeah, look, sorry, Will, we got to let you go. You said that one word. That's an FCC fine.
Dirt said worse words on the air before. Trust me.
He's letting it fly.
He's let it fly a couple times accidentally, yeah. That's not something he's trying to do. It's just like in the moment, says it, and you're like, oh, I don't think you can say that.
I think we've all done that.
Yeah.
This was a concerted effort to not say that, though, so I'm not going to slip that one up.
Well, I tend not to feel as strongly about people on the road. Like, I had a Crown Vic ride my ass today. I'm going from 205, I go to 84, and it's a lifted Crown Vic. So it's a Crown
Sick.
It's a Crown Vic that you'd see in like Florida.
Sick, bro.
It's on like 35-inch, 45-inch, whatever, massive tires, right? It's a lifted car basically. And he's just riding me. I just go to the right. It's going to be a merge anyway. He just
Flying
going
past
90
you.
miles an hour. Guess who I see later up on 84?
Dead even with you.
I'm in the middle lane. I'm not going the fastest. I'm not going the
I hate
slowest.
when that happens.
And he's in the slow lane. And I'm like, what? Why did you? Why? 2 miles back there, you couldn't have gone quicker. Now you're going 54?
People in Oregon do that.
I don't get it.
At an outstanding clip.
It's a passive-aggressive thing. We're a passive-aggressive people, us Oregonians. Like, we can be tough. We're also soft, So it's like, get out of the way. I need to go 90. And then you're like, well, I don't want to keep going 90. I'm going to go 54 now.
My wife has been saying that since she moved here from the Northeast. She'll take the passive along with the aggressive because there it's just aggressive. But yeah, people here suck. They like to speed up and then go back. And I've literally started to, if I want somebody to speed up, I'll just get from the fast lane behind them. I'll shift over to the middle lane. I will not go faster than them, but then I'll watch them speed up. So, this guy's not going to get around me. And then I'll just kind of get back in the fast lane and be like, I control your mind. This is too easy.
People might suck here, but the one thing I had this yesterday, actually. Yesterday was, it was beautiful outside at my house. It was blue sky when a cloud is in the sky, sun's out. Now it's only in Oregon could I be walking my dog and it's 43 degrees, so it's not warm. To me, that's cold. And only in Oregon can you be walking in your neighborhood and suddenly you see a 74-year-old man. He's like, man, great day for a walk, isn't it? And you're like, it is. And you're both looking at each other smiling just because you see the sunshine.
Right, you're excited.
Only in Oregon does that happen. It's like, let's appreciate this cold-ass sunshine and talk about how great the weather is right now, even though it's freezing.
Hey, I was jacked up. I was calling into the office seeing if I could get extra not PE, recess time. I was like, can I take the kids out for
The
recess?
kids get a little more jacked when they see the sun.
See, well, and the beauty is at the school that I was at, you start at like 7:15. So 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it feels like you earned the sun. It's cold, it's dark,
Right.
it's not super sunny. We had this conversation on Tuesday. It was raining early in the morning, and I said I loved it because then you earned the great afternoon. And we earned the great afternoon that
We
day.
did.
I was right on that take, and I stand by it. I stand by it. I want the early morning drizzle for the nice afternoon sunshine.
Do you guys remember growing up and you'd go to recess and you'd see it was sunny
Yeah.
and it's like blue sky? Just the excitement I used to get of like, we're going to play football for the whole recess and it's going to be amazing.
Oh, it was beautiful. And then you'd always sneak in tackle. You'd be like, all right, if we go down this hill over here on the field, they won't be able to see us. Maybe we'll get 5 minutes and we can actually tackle each other.
We didn't have a hill. Ours was just flat and it was like on a soccer field. And we tried that a couple times. That did not fly. We had to stick with the two-hand touch.
Yeah.
A lot
well,
of two-hand touch.
It's a little obvious when that happens. Y'all come back dirty.
Well, we were
Somebody's
still
usually
getting
injured.
dirty. We were getting
Oh.
pushed down a little bit with the two hands, or you'd slip a little bit, or whatever. I ended up with like dirt stains on my jeans every day.
Yeah. As a sub, they're coming back dirty no matter
Yeah,
what.
no matter
They're
what you do.
always dirt. Even into middle school, like right around 6th or 7th grade, I think is when it kind of flips and people are like, I don't want to be dirty and smelly in class
Mhm.
so that maybe I can get a girl or a boy to like me. But when you're kindergarten, so 5, 6 years old, all the way up until 5th, 6th grade, you don't care about if a girl likes you or a guy likes you. So you're just getting after it. They do not care.
Mm.
I had a student, mom works at one of the schools in the district, left for recess, normal, came back, completely ripped
Disaster.
pants. Disaster.
The ripped pants, that was a good one too.
Completely
Yeah.
ripped pants right at the knees. Almost
Yep.
looked like he had those zip-off khakis.
Yes.
Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
From back in the day?
I had a hole in jean. That's happened to me at recess.
Right.
Playing football, I slid and the jean ripped, and then I slid again later in the game, and the jeans ripped more, and before you know, I have a massive hole. I look like I'm a grunge guy.
Dude, completely off. And I saw the kid, and he's a kindergartner, and I was like, hey, buddy, did you rip your pants? He goes, yeah. I'm like, don't tell your mom that I was your sub today. Don't let her know that I was the one who couldn't keep your pants good. He's like, don't worry, she won't notice. I'm like, she's gonna notice, buddy.
She'll know.
She's gonna notice. When I can
That's
see
erroneous to put the blame
your
on
entire
you.
knee.
I mean, talk to your kid.
Oh, she wouldn't.
Talk to your
She's a
kid.
great teacher. I just thought it was funny. It was like, I've already got this kindergartner willing to lie for me so I don't get in trouble.
Will's corrupting the youth. What a beautiful Thursday morning we have here.
You don't belong at the station because you're talking dirty words. You don't belong at the school because
Yeah.
you're a bad
I'm
influence.
teaching
You hate
them how to
drivers.
lie.
You're flipping
That's
them
right.
off. You hate people in Boston. Boy, what a start to the show today, isn't it?
Happy joy, guys.
I'm
Yes.
actually really excited. We have a great show. I saw the tweet last night, and I
Yeah.
got all jacked up, dude.
I think it's going to be a fun show today. Merrill Hodge is going to join us at 7:30.
Hyped.
Look, I don't say
Hyped.
this very often. I don't say it about all the guests. We had Baldy yesterday. Love Baldy.
Baldy's fantastic.
I have wanted to interview Merrill Hodge for, let's see, I'm 37, 24 years. It's just crazy to say out loud because maybe he's not that old. When was Merrill Hodge on ESPN for you? Because I have him at like 13, 14 years old.
See, that's the thing. Early childhood. Because for
Has
me,
to be early childhood.
like we
right?
would turn on Sports Center in the morning from 7 to 8, getting ready to like eat, put your clothes on, go to school. So I remember him from probably first, second grade.
He's
all
59.
all the way till high school.
Yeah.
Like Merrill Hodge is a guy, like when I turned on ESPN, it was like, awesome football's on Merrill
Yes.
Hodge.
Yeah, Merrill Hodge was on your TV. You knew you were going to talk nothing but
He's
football.
like one of the 10 ESPN faces,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like the people.
And
Right.
so I'm going to have to tell him that I'm excited to talk to him today. I can't wait to talk to him.
Don't shy away from that.
I won't. He's going to dive into all the quarterback stuff. We got into a little bit with Baldy. He also gave us some stuff on non-quarterbacks. But we'll talk with Merrill Hodge specifically about the quarterbacks, his evaluation of it. I want to talk about that too. Like, how does a Merrill Hodge have a bad grade, not bad, but like a lesser grade on Caleb than like 7 other people who are covering the sport? I want to know if he had 5 things to label a franchise quarterback with, what metrics he would use.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to him about that kind of stuff. So Merrill is going to join us at 7:30. It is a loaded show. Let's get it going. We'll go around the association. We'll start there. Dirt and Sprague, good to be with you on this Thursday. Schultze and Will are in. Let's get it going on the Fan.
The best.
I was going to start in hoops. I think I'm going to pivot out. This just came across the old timeline.
I see what you did there.
And July 20th, mark this day on your calendars, gentlemen. I don't know what you have planned for July 20th. I just put it on my old iPhone.
You got it on the calendar? You got calendar updates?
Oh, yeah, you have to as a dad.
Really? Is
Well,
that what
yeah.
I have to look forward to?
Well, you don't have to look forward to anything. Don't have kids.
Probably eventually.
Yeah.
Probably eventually.
Probably.
You sure?
Maybe one day.
You sure you want that?
I gotta trick someone. Gotta trick someone into loving me.
I would actually argue they're going to trick you into thinking you want to do that.
That could happen.
Yes, you do need to use the calendar.
I am gullible.
There's a lot of appointments and sports stuff, and then your life, and then your wife's life. I mean, it's insane. So yes, mark it on your calendar. Netflix is announced that they're streaming a boxing match between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
Yuck.
Dude, I'll probably watch it.
Mike
I'll
Tyson's
watch.
gonna fight.
Yeah. Well, I've had this long, probably dumb take since college where I think after he's in his late 50s, early
I think he's
60s?
like 54.
He's not 54. He is not the same age as my parents. There's no
You're right.
way.
Your parents are 54.
In that age range.
You're right. He's 57.
Oh my god.
How he's still pre-60. Okay.
That shocks me.
So you thought he was 60. You thought he was like sub 50 almost. Is what it sounds like.
I thought late 50s.
I
Early
thought he was like
gotcha,
50 or near it doing the Hangover movie. I'm kind of shocked that he's this young still.
Yeah, 57 seemed. I thought he was like 59.
Well, all his
to
boxing stuff
63.
came when he was 22 and
Exactly.
24.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, well before I was alive. But I do think that I could take a punch from Mike Tyson. I think this is a perfect move by
Wait,
Jake Paul, and I
what?
think he'll
Stop.
dominate. What?
No, you can't drop that in there.
What are you talking about?
You
He's
can't.
57.
Have you seen him?
Yeah.
No, have you seen like he's done some speed bag stuff and he's put it on his socials?
I'm not saying I could beat him in a boxing
No,
match.
I know you're
Far
not.
from that.
But you could take a punch. He could punch you in the face as hard as he wants one time, and you're gonna hurt, but you're gonna not be knocked out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I might be like concussed. I'll be okay. I think I beat a 10 count.
Will, this is, and I'm not questioning you. This is I'm giving that guy more credit thing. This is to me the equivalent of Joe Fisher. I could easily run a sub 5.27 for him.
And here's the thing.
And maybe you can.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. It is stupid.
You can
but
take
it
a
is-
punch from Tyson even at 57.
He's older. He's not in that good of shape. I mean, I know he's like, I know when he fought, what's his name, right during COVID, the other old fighter, he came back and he got in decent shape. I saw him punch that guy on the airplane, and that dude, like, obviously it hurt the guy, but he wasn't knocked out, and he had 3 clean shots. It's like, it would hurt a lot.
But if you line you up, we tie your arms behind your back, you're standing. Well, that'd be difficult because he's short. But we said, Tyson, let it fly, buddy. He said he can deal with it. And he let it fly. You think you're just like your head's cocking back, or maybe you drop to a knee for a second and then you're fine.
See, but that's where it's weird because you don't need that much pressure, and if you hit someone in the right spot, you can knock someone out with their hands tied behind their back. And so I do probably agree that he can knock me out in that situation. The scenario that I've concocted in my brain is
walk me through that.
We'd have to be like in the ring. I get to have my hands up. I'm not going to hit him. I have to do my best to try to avoid his punches.
Sure.
And so then he gets a shot in.
This is so ridiculous.
And it's not like the most clean shot of all time. And I'm able to like duck it enough and move enough that it doesn't hit me right on the button or the temple. And if I do this, like, I'll get hurt. I might even fall, but I'll be able to beat the 10 count.
Oh my God.
And then he'll love me and we'll go like get steak or something.
Oh, so you've gone from fighting him.
I'm not fighting it. No, I'm not fighting him. I'm just not getting knocked out.
Okay.
Because I don't think I last a round. Like, I'm not getting in nice and close and we're throwing blow for blow. He would destroy me, but I think it would take 2 punches to knock me out.
Well, what is this? Okay, so who benefits more from this, Tyson or Paul?
Paul.
And who suffers more from this?
Tyson.
Really?
I think well, right now
I think it's Tyson too.
right
What else
now.
does he have
What's Paul, 25? Is he even
Yeah,
that old?
26. I think him and I are around the same
And
age.
he wants to be taken seriously. And look, his box office numbers suggest people are interested. They are wondering how real it is.
He's like the #1 boxer, like when it comes to money, right?
He probably is with pay-per-view purchases, yes.
Like I think maybe Fury beats him money wise, but
Doesn't
not
this bring him
much.
to a bigger audience though?
No, his audience.
Does it
his
bring
audience
Paul
is
to a
bigger
bigger
than
audience?
Tyson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as
I
far
think
as
it
like
does.
sports fans and boxing, and
Yeah.
he's got 20-year-olds watching it, but now he's gonna have 40-year-olds watching
I
him
think
as well.
I think he was getting those eyeballs after the Nate Robinson knockout.
Which
And
is
he-
ridiculous that we gave that any credit. It's like, I've seen Nate Robinson in person. He's as tall as Schultze.
Right.
Which, no offense, Schultze,
None taken.
but also he never was a boxer.
But that's the beauty of Jake is Jake was never an athlete. He was a Disney Channel Vine star.
But he's a big dude.
right, but
He's not small.
And he was a former wrestler, but then he takes this Nate Robinson fight. He wins that, knocks him out.
Okay.
Then he takes Ben Askren, he takes Tyron Woodley, and he goes a couple times with Woodley. Then he goes with Diaz. That's the perfect scenario for him because he fights these people who are old, over the hill, or in Nate Robinson's case, never fought. But it's enough to where people get intrigued. Everyone hates Jake. Everyone hates Jake and wants
no
to
way.
see him get knocked out.
I don't think that's true. I don't think you
Everyone-
can be that famous with everybody hating you. I think you're polarizing.
I
Right.
think you can, especially in this country. Are you kidding me?
I don't. The Pauls are not well liked. Maybe if you skew younger, like you get into the teenage kids, maybe early 20s is where you're going to be like, oh, Jake and Logan Paul, they're the man.
Yeah.
But he's polarizing. He gets eyeballs on. This is such a bigger deal for Tyson because it keeps him in the limelight just a little bit longer. And Tyson's also the perfect. Basketball has this issue too, where like everyone has a highlight tape now. Like the other day I was on Twitter and I saw an Andre Miller highlight. It was like, this guy would give you 40 today. And all the 20 to 15-year-old kids are commenting on there like, this guy's amazing. He's incredible. Whoa, look at what this guy can do. And it's like, dude, Andre Miller was a slightly above average player. Like he was a starter. He was good, but he wasn't anything crazy. Mike Tyson, obviously, when he had his run, he was dominant. But if you talk into any pure boxing, like aficionado, guys who are watching boxing all the time, Mike Tyson's not the best champion.
Well, I don't think anybody realistically believes that.
Right. But when you have these young kids and they see all his old crazy knockouts, sometimes they can fall for that and they go, oh, Mike Tyson, larger than life. And then a lot of people my generation, we remember him hangover after. Most guys, if you don't really do any looking into Mike Tyson, you
You've
don't
never
realize
made me feel older
how
than saying that
bad.
out loud. I remember him from The Hangover. Like,
Yeah,
oh
that's my first memory of
God.
Mike Tyson.
It's not like 04 or 05 now. God.
No, that was like 09.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2010.
Right.
Me and my
after high
wife
school,
went and
yeah.
saw that in college. People when Anthony Tyson would kill you faster than a hippo would kill Will Darkins. Because Will Darkins, former fullback of Oregon State football, famously said on air, if he was encountering a hippo, he would kill the hippo. Hippos kill more people a year than like great white sharks.
Well, again, that's the beauty of the animal.
There's
and
something
the
about
Mike
you football
Tyson
players, and you guys have to
thing.
be
We have
crazy.
irrational, yeah.
You guys have to be stupid's
irrational
not the right term, but you guys have to have a thing in your brain that's not functioning right to do it after a certain point, and you all seemingly have it.
Boxers too.
Well,
Well,
but that's
boxing's it's kind of a different lifestyle, but you guys, I don't know what it is. It's because you did sled drills in the
Yeah.
August, afternoons. I don't know what, but you guys have this weird
Yeah.
take that like you could just do and conquer all these things. Somebody else saying in a show with Schultz on it, I didn't expect the worst take of hour one to come from Ortner, and I'm confident saying that it won't be topped because it's so molten hot surface of the sun bad. That's from Jordan.
Hey, look, you know what, Jordan? It's fine. I'm okay having this be my one. Everyone has a bad take. I know that the Tyson take is bad, but here's the beauty of the Tyson take. When am I ever going to have to prove it? When is Will Darkins ever going to have to fight
But
a
that's
hippo?
what makes the take dumb. Is
That's
that
what
like,
makes it funny.
and
it's-
it makes it
and
funny
it's-
in not a way that you might think.
I'm okay with people laughing at me in this situation. And if this were to arise, I would gladly get in the ring and allow 1080 to
I
film.
disagree with you.
I would gladly do it. I would.
I
do
think
it.
if Tyson
I got
came to
knocked out,
Portland
that'd
and we
be
said,
fine.
this guy said he could take a punch from you, I'm not saying you'd be scared, but I think you would be like, I don't really feel like getting knocked out on the internet.
I'd be okay. Look,
He
I
could
think I'd do
severely
it.
injure you.
No,
And, dude, you
think about how
legitimately could
viral
be
it
sent
would
to the
go.
hospital.
Yes, I've been
You
to the
have-
hospital
you-
before.
You have never...
Sue comes in every day with a black eye. I'd be fine.
This could be more than a black eye. Do you not understand
I
the actual implication of this?
I don't mean any disrespect with this, and
It's fine. I get it.
Sukanic is in jiu-jitsu. Sukanik's taking random elbows in jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
maybe a foot or something.
Yeah, headbutts. Yeah. No,
It's
I know.
not a Mike Tyson clean punch to the jaw.
Well, again, remember, I'm ducking and moving. My hands are not tied behind my back.
But you act like you're quick. You think Tyson's
Pretty-
never fast? Never
Oh, no,
gone
dude,
against a fast boxer?
He would smoke me, but again, like I think like he'd come in if I can like just do enough. It's not a clean shot. And
Oh,
if it's not
my
a clean
God.
shot, I'll be okay.
Hey, let me ask you guys.
I
and
beat
we'll
the
go,
10 count.
We'll go to this. So it's Gypsy King fighting Jake Paul. No. Mike Tyson will on July 20th on Netflix. It was just announced. Who suffers more, though, from getting knocked out?
Oh, Mike Tyson.
No, Jake.
It's Mike Tyson, right?
Jake.
But what?
What is
How?
he? No.
Nobody. People want him to get knocked out, first of all.
Right, but the reason that Jake has been able to keep doing this is even the one fight he lost.
He
which
lost
was,
his last fight, didn't he?
No, 2 fights ago, 3
Okay,
fights
two-
ago. He
whatever
lost.
it
He
was.
lost to Tommy Fury.
Yes.
But the beauty of losing to Tommy Fury is he lost in a split decision, so he can still go out and hype it up and say, it was rigged. I was fighting in the UK. I was doing this. I was doing that. You know, the beauty of boxing. I let it get to the judges, and I shouldn't. If he gets knocked out, this is all over. He has to go and be a WWE
57-year-old
guy.
knocks him out. Well, I mean,
Right,
that's also
50
a nice thing to lean back on is the
See,
WWE stuff.
But is he even good enough to do that? Like
His brother
if-
is. His brother's amazing in it.
but he's never been knocked out.
No, he hasn't.
He's been in fights where he's lost. He's gone to decision. He never got knocked out.
I can't believe I'm saying this. This has my interest. I don't care normally about all these Paul fights. I think it's awesome that he's able to build this kind of self-sustaining economy on, I'm going to fight a guy that you've heard of, but you know is not a great boxer, and
Right.
people buy it. This, I will, if
People
I'm
will
doing
tune in.
nothing July 20th, I will watch this. Yes.
Yeah, dude, I'll probably tune in because it's July 20th. Other than baseball, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, I might be on vacation.
Boxing is about marquee events, right?
Yeah.
And they do tend to schedule them kind
Yeah.
of in the other off seasons.
Yep.
and Something else is going on. Nope, no, let's tune into this here. There's nothing to compete against.
No.
Yeah, I'll watch it. It's a car wreck I can't turn away
All right,
from.
I'll put a poll question up. Are you going to watch Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson on July 20th? Let's dive into some hoops. We'll get to it next, but first, Schultze with a sports update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Their butchers, all trained chefs eager to help with cooking advice. Get to know your friendly neighborhood butcher online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fan, the Portland Trailblazers getting smacked by the Oklahoma City Thunder as they tipped off a 6-game homestand last night. The final 128-120. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 37 points for OKC. Ant Simons putting up 29 for your Blazers. They have the day off today before the Houston Rockets visit town tomorrow. On the college hardwood tonight, the Oregon Ducks are going to host Colorado as a 2.5-point favorite down to Eugene. Coverage getting going right here on the Fan at 5:30 with tip-off set for 6 p.m. on ESPN2. And the Beavers also in action. They're going to host Utah. They're 6.5-point underdogs, though. You can catch that one at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. In the world of tennis, legend and 22-time Grand Slam winner Rafael Nadal has withdrawn from Indian Wells because he is, quote, not ready to play at the highest level in such an important event. The 37-year-old has played in just 12 official matches since the 2022 U.S. Open. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6FAN.
For more than 50 years, PG Long has been helping the Pacific Northwest with floor covering, cleaning, and restoration, specializing in working with multifamily properties and contractors. The team at PG Long are not only product experts, they have the experience and expertise to solve all your flooring needs. Whether you're building new homes, reflooring your rentals, or you need a repair done ASAP, the team at PG Long is ready to save you time, money, and hassle. Find them online at pglongllc.com. PG Long, the Northwest flooring experts.
If the police have officers who specialize in DUI arrests, shouldn't you have a law firm that specializes
Is up. We got another hot at 1080 The Fan take, stemming from the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson boxing match announcement that will be on Netflix July 20th. Will Ortner says he could take a punch from Mike Tyson and not be knocked out. That's by a 10 count.
But I do think that I could take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Do you agree? Yes or no?
Hey, look, I am fully able to admit it is my dumbest take. It is my Will Darkins could defeat a hippo. That being said, I do believe it wholeheartedly. This isn't like a Skip Bayless where he just rips on LeBron all the time. It's like LeBron is like a maybe in the top 10. Skip knows that LeBron is
his entire
top
career is
2.
made by just bashing LeBron.
Right.
I mean, an entire career.
That's not what this hot take is. It's much more equivalent to the basketball dad that played at Clark College or Lower Columbia and is like, if I got in the NBA, I could probably make a couple buckets.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that subscribe to that. There is a outside shot in that scenario where you actually end up being right, and you get up at like 9 and it counts, and you're like, I did it.
I'm woozy.
Your jaw's broken, but you did it. Will Darkins will forever
he would die.
have the dumbest take in 1080 history with the I will beat a hippo if I'm squared off with a hippo. That take will never be beaten. No matter how bad a sports take or non-sports take you can come up with, that one will never be beaten. That is in the Hall of Fame, unanimous, got all the votes, never happened in 1080 history on a take. That's it for that.
I still want to know what prompted that. Like, what animals could you take?
Probably one of those stupid, like, those polls where they ask
Yeah.
people, how many animals can you beat? And they start, bear, yeah, I think I could do it. Wolves, I think I could fight them off.
Have you seen the Revenant, people?
Once you get above, I don't know, 50-pound dog, like you're not beating an animal.
I don't want to be mean, but I legitimately would wonder about certain people just that we work with beating a goose. You laugh, and then like a goose is flapping its wings, and it's pecking you in the face, and you're like, "Oh my god,
They come at you.
He's gonna beat me."
Yeah, depending. I mean, hey, look, my mom, she doesn't get out of the car if there are birds around. She's
Birds are
afraid.
dinosaurs.
Yeah,
They're kind of weird. They can't be trusted.
They're not afraid to fight. Are they even real? Like, there's that whole thing.
I don't know if either of you have driven through Yellowstone National Park.
I've never been. No.
I've
but
watched
you,
the TV show.
You can drive right onto the road with buffaloes. Like I had to wait
the
about
bison,
an hour,
yeah.
hour and a half through buffalo traffic trying to get out of Yellowstone with my wife when we visited, and now I'm seeing stories 10 years later of people getting out of their cars, hanging out with the buffalo. People really think they can interact.
Did you see that kid that got kicked by the buffalo
Yes.
like 2 years ago?
No, I just saw one 2 or 3 weeks ago. An old lady. She just walked up to it to take a photo, and it just charged and rammed her to the ground, and then
Good.
walked away.
Good.
And what I
her
hate about
fault.
these situations, when I hate about this, is when they have to put the animal down.
Yeah, that's
Not that they did
that's
that,
Bush League.
but that does happen from time to time.
Are you talking about our sweet prince Harambe?
D's out for Harambe.
R.I.P.
Ryan has tweeted the show page, Night Will, and he quote tweeted Robert Griffin 8 minutes ago showing a video of Mike Tyson at 57. I'm sorry, dude.
I gotta see this. Where is this?
I'm gonna have to tell you right now.
Am I getting pieced up?
Yeah. I can't
Well,
believe
remember,
I can't believe he looks this good at 57.
He only gets to throw one punch.
Well, hold on. You didn't add qualifiers to it.
Well, again, it was can I take a punch?
Could you survive the 10 count?
Could I survive the 10 count? I think yes.
NBA action yesterday. The Bucks got housed by the Warriors. They scored 9 points in the fourth quarter. That was great. Down 20 at the half, come back in the third quarter, and then scored 9. LeBron left with an ankle injury, and they lost to the King. God, the Lakers suck. And our Blazers, our pesky, fun little Blazers last night, huh?
That was a good game. I liked that game.
Okay.
That was fun.
That's how you sum up where the Blazers are. I liked that game.
I did.
I mean,
Hey.
Chris Murray looked decent.
Hey.
Thank God.
Delano Banton, baby.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah? No?
Ant
all right.
looked good. He was unselfish in the first half when they were
I was
throwing all the
happy.
double teams.
Yeah.
He looked for open guys.
He's had a good couple games here.
And this is what you want, though. You want to lose close. You want to show some growth. You want to show that, hey, maybe there's something that we can turn some of these guys into. When you have the younger guys, are they moving forward? I saw a picture where Danny had tweeted out Scoot Henderson. He's out moving around. He was on the court. Obviously, he didn't play, but
Danny thinks
that's-
he could potentially be coming back on Friday,
right.
tomorrow.
These are all good signs. These are all things I like. I liked how last night went. You still lost. You found a way to lose.
Yep.
But you looked good doing it. No more big 40, 50, 60-point blowouts. Keep games close, but lose so you get the good lottery pick, get more lottery balls, all for it.
The Seahawks, do they have an advantage in this way in the NFL draft? We'll get to that. There's some massive cuts going on in Buffalo as they have to now navigate their salary cap. A fun fact about one of the players that they cut yesterday with a local tie. We'll get to that today. The Nick Saban leaving Alabama story came out yesterday as well with Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is a liar. I like Kalen DeBoer. I think Kalen DeBoer is a very smart coach. I've said this, and I will say this till my dying breath. College football coaches are liars.
Yep.
All of them. You can like your coach. That's fine. I liked Jonathan Smith. All coaches are liars. And I will point out how Kalen DeBoer is a liar because we'll run through that. I got a broadcasting note that came out about Nick Saban, so we'll get to that today. Ken Barkley at 8, Merrill Hodge coming up at 7:30. Up next, do you speed things up for this guy? Next on The Fan.
But I do think that I could take a punch from Mike Tyson.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd.
So you can go ahead
the countdown.
I know you are.
I am all for it. And you know what? I have a content brain, and I'm okay getting in the ring. I'll sign the waiver.
But your generation. Your generation is like, yo, I'll do that embarrassingly bad thing on the internet for fame for 5 minutes.
First of all,
You guys are all kind of built that way.
As far as embarrassingly bad, that is nowhere near the top of the list.
Saying you could take a punch from somebody and when they punch you, you get knocked out is...
It's not
the
out.
worst thing, but it is bad.
If I get knocked out in this hypothetical, I don't.
The great thing is the
understand.
hypothetical. This will never happen, and you get to sit here and be like, well, I mean, guess we'll never know, will we?
Well, I mean, like, dude, they do the slap boxing thing all the time. Those guys stand up. We're good. Like, I'll just, like, train my neck a little bit. We'll be okay.
We'll get to some NFL stuff. I found it interesting. Brock Heward on yesterday saying the Seattle Seahawks have the best advantage in the draft. And when he said it, I was kind of like, oh. And then he kind of mapped out why, and I'm like, pretty good take, actually. How are they handling hypothetical draft picks in Boston? I got the audio, and it's exactly what you would think it would be. So we'll get to that coming up today. Merrill Hodge at 7:30. Ken Barkley, you better you bet, coming up at 8. Are you guys following? Let me ask both of you guys, because I kind of assume you two are not diehard NBA fans. You're not watching every night. You don't subscribe to League Pass. If you watch something that's on League Pass, you stream East it, or you watch a Blazer game occasionally. Do I have that right for both Schultze and Ortner? Do I have that right?
I would never illegally stream
I know you would,
show.
but do I have it right? Basically,
I watch
it
the
up.
national games on at night.
The TNTs, the ESPNs,
like,
right?
and especially right now,
Right.
Monday through Friday, I'm more likely to watch basketball.
Okay, all right. But you're not following all the games and all. Okay, right. So Victor Wembanyama, the number 1 pick in the draft. We were 1 number away.
That's right.
One number.
What could have been?
He's been playing, obviously, in San Antonio. They haven't been on national TV that much. They're not a very good team. They're worse than Portland, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
But he has been everything and more. He's not going to be the scoring champion of a season, but he's going to give you 27. This is like what I think his peak is. It's like 27, 4, and 14. Mm-hmm. It's going to be something ridiculous. He has, to me, been everything he's been advertised as. And it's been interesting following them as an NBA guy because they're terrible, but I don't think they should be this terrible. And so you have to kind of bring up the Popovich thing. It's a non-starter for most Spurs fans. Anyways, seeing how good he's been, it's making people wonder around the league, is San Antonio going to speed this up? Ramona Shelburne was on ESPN 2 days ago, and she had this to say when talking about, hey, his timeline might be 2 or 3 years away in San Antonio. Ramona Shelburne said this.
I don't want to hear that word anymore. Timeline. Patience. Like, Damian Lillard, when he asked for a trade from Portland, had an interest in going to the Spurs, okay? He had an interest. There was a fascination with Wemby. Wemby hadn't hit the league yet, but there was a fascination with him, and there was a respect for Greg Popovich. But there was not really any traction on trading for Dame because Victor is so young, and they have a young team, and they want to see that develop. Victor's here. Victor is ready to win. And I know they have this idea that they're going to take 2-3 years and find the right core, and they're all going to be on the same timeline, but I don't know how patient he's going to be, because when I watch him play, that man is competitive. He wants to win. And how long do you give him, Malika? Year, 2?
A year max.
Because I don't think he wants to sit here and be at the bottom of the lottery standing.
Danny Green followed that up immediately and said, well, he'll have to deal with it anyway because Pop's going to do what Pop wants to do. And I find it interesting. They're already kind of putting pressure on San Antonio in the first year of the number 1 pick, saying, I don't know, man. You better do something or he's going to get out of there. And it's just wild. Like, the pressure's already being applied. I'm jealous of it, actually. I love that people are saying, yo, he's amazing. Try to win now instead of waiting 2-3 years. Expediting or pushing, I should say, forward the number 1 pick and making him have to be a contender that quickly. Do we like this approach?
No, but I also think that it is today's culture. Like, you want results now. You don't want to go through the process. Everyone makes fun of Philadelphia for trusting their process. Well, if you take away a bad Markelle Fultz draft pick and Ben Simmons going from being an all-NBA player, he's an all-defensive player, he was a very good pro, to all of a sudden he got the yips, can't shoot, and now he can't make it through a full season. that was a pretty good process. It got you in a position where they even got James Harden, and they were one of the top teams in the East. Obviously, it didn't work. But what I'm trying to say here is everyone wants to speed everything up. San Antonio has never been a speed things up organization. They know how long it takes to win. They know how to build around champions. And if Victor Wembanyama is coming out and saying like, yes, I want to win, but I also trust my organization. I trust Greg Popovich. I trust the GM, the president of basketball ops. I trust all these people that they're going to build a champion around me because it's what they did for Robinson. It's what they did for Duncan. I'm going to be able to wait for a year or two. I'm still super young. I'm not even 21 yet. I can't legally go out and drink in most of the places that I go and play basketball games at. I can take the time to then continue to develop, to continue to build up injury resistance, to get the players around me that are the same age as me, and then I can move forward and hopefully restart or start a new version of a Spurs dynasty.
Yeah, but here's my only pushback to that. I'll do the Brian Windhorst, fingers up. Why did she say that? The league is built with all of these people who are in the know, always randomly dropping things that make you go, what? And there's always a reason for everything.
And he did say something during the All-Star break. He said he hated losing.
He hates losing.
He has been vocal about it.
It's one of the great things about him. He's hyper competitive. He's not one of these like, oh, I'm really talented, I don't really care guy. Like, I don't mean any disrespect here. I like this player. I think he gets a bad rap. Zion comes off a little bit like this. He's like, I'm an amazing athlete. I'm a great basketball player. You don't feel it as much. Victor is very like, no. Leave me alone. We lost. Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's echoing this on ESPN, why did she do that? It makes me wonder if behind the scenes, and by the way, what you highlight, San Antonio isn't a rush organization. They also won the title in Duncan's second season.
Yeah.
And then they got a dynasty started, and then they just plugged and played a 19-year-old point guard from France who was instantly amazing.
Right.
And then they go get a guy from Argentina who was instantly amazing. And that group wins, and they usher in this young wing from San Diego State who 3 years later, but they were winning, becomes Kawhi Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't rush, but they have won pretty quickly with their guys. I think it's something to keep an eye on. You don't have to follow the Spurs. You don't have to catch the games. When that stuff is said publicly, I think there's a reason. And I'm wondering if behind the scenes, Wemby isn't cool with this. I ain't waiting 3 years. Let's win now, damn it.
Well, and it kind of makes you wonder because he just signed that huge $16 million a year contract this last summer. I think he's the oldest coach in NBA history right now. He's signed through age like 75 or 76. So it makes you wonder if people in the organization as well, like it wasn't 100% everybody agreeing with that decision. I would not be surprised if there were maybe some younger minds not attached to Wemby inside the Spurs that are kind of questioning this because we've seen all these NFL teams move on from these older guys and Belichick and Carroll, but for some reason, not winning since 2017 is okay in the NBA. Now, maybe as we get into this offseason, we're starting to wonder, is that actually okay?
It's a delicate balance that he has to navigate over there in San Antonio, but he's had a great year, Wemby has, and when Ramona Shelburne says something like that, it kind of leads me to think that there might be some noise behind the scenes from certain people about something like this of, to hell with waiting for 3 years. We're winning right now. We have a loaded second hour, Will. I want to kick it off. Do the Seahawks have the biggest advantage in the NFL draft in the first round or two? I know that their draft pick situation isn't as clean as other teams, but this guy said that they have a huge advantage in the NFL draft. Do you agree with it? We kick off the second hour with that. Dirt and Sprague. Merrill Hodge at 7:30 on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, it's Suk. And guys, for those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. It sucks to be me, because you know what the least attractive
All right, welcome back in hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and YouTube.com.
See our beautiful, beautiful faces on the YouTube.
Oh, I love looking at myself. Not really.
It's my favorite thing.
If I see myself or hear myself, I turn whatever it is I'm hearing or seeing those things off.
I mean, because of the YouTube stream, you now can't really hire guys with just a face for radio. You got to hire somewhat halfway attractive, just not totally ugly guys, and I hope that I fit that bill. I know you gents do. So,
do you think anyone's ever actually not gotten hired because they were ugly?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Really?
1,500%.
Like they fit
Hold on.
everything perfectly, but then it's like,
Yeah.
Compared to somebody else whose resume might be close, but not quite as good, but like is far more attractive.
Well, that's
too many
happened-
times to count.
I allege that's happened in this market too many times to count, just in Portland alone.
yeah, but like radio just started doing the YouTube and Twitch stuff.
Oh, you're talking about radio, or are you talking
Oh.
about in general?
I was
Yeah,
talking
media.
about radio.
I mean,
like
no.
TV,
Media
do
overall,
that.
yeah.
TV,
Nobody cares how ugly.
TV, I get it. I mean, there was a point in time where weather people were not meteorologists. They didn't have to go to school to figure out.
You still have that.
Yeah, we've gotten back to that.
There's a lot of weather people who aren't
I
meteorologists.
thought you had to.
No.
I thought you had
No.
to have that degree.
You have your meteorologists, and then you have your other weather people who understand the basic readings of the maps, the terminology, and that's all they know.
I think when you
Oh.
were a kid, Will, you remember those little like AWS placards, like they're a member of the American Weather Service or whatever the hell it is.
Sure.
And they hide that was a very important thing for being a meteorologist when we were kids. Now nobody cares.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. Like, I thought that was like you go to your small market in, wherever, small town, and you go into it being like, I'm going to be a TV anchor. And they're like, you know what? You actually fit the weather role a lot better. It's a great role. There's a lot of weather spots open. You can move around. And then you go, oh, okay. And then you go back to school for like a year or two, and then boom, you're a
No,
weather
they
person.
plug and play. It's a plug and play situation.
I did not know that. Now some poor, ugly meteorologist is in the background figuring out what's going on with the weather, telling the hots what's happening, and they disseminate that information to the olds.
Most of those people just go to a website and it gives it to them, and then they put it in the
I don't even-
teleprompter and do the map stuff. Yeah.
I've been lied to. This is like the Wizard of Oz all
I'm
over
sorry.
again.
Don't look over at that man on the curtain. Pay him no mind.
I was told that there was integrity. What's happening?
Well, we've lost integrity in the media for like 40 years now.
Ah.
It's slowly been eroding. Want to remind everybody the best basketball party is back.
Mm-hmm.
We've got George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law presenting Fan Madness Thursday and Friday, March 21st and 22nd from noon to 7 each day. There's no better place to watch the tournament than the Stadium Sports Bar, home to A Sports Book. Danny and Dusty, Isaac and Sukal broadcast live. Fan Madness presented by George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law. Injuries and missing work ruining your day? Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com. He'll make them pay. Again, 1080thevan.com, Fan Madness. I believe I will be out there for Friday.
Oh, dude, you should sneak out there Thursday too.
Thursday might be a time crunch for me. Friday, I think, is the day where our coworkers are going. I was shamed last week by Joe Fisher for a work event that I did not attend. And so I'm going to go on Friday when we do the party bus.
They're doing the party bus again.
I believe they are.
Yeah.
And we're going to go out there. And I went out there last year and I instantly lost all my money. It was fantastic. I made a lot of bad bets. Why did I bet on the 12th seed?
Dude, it was great. I bet on Furman. That was my favorite bet.
Oh, you took the upset.
I took the upset.
Bastard. I missed the wrong upset.
It was fantastic. It's a great time. If you get the opportunity, I got to go out last year for 2 shows and got to do Thursday and Friday. Totally worth it. Your boss knows you're not going to work anyways. Your boss knows you're watching.
Your boss
the games
wants
on
to
your
go
phone.
with you to A. So
Right.
just team up together and get
Go
some
down.
drinks and get some French onion soup like Eric Gunderson and enjoy yourself.
It's a
There's a
great
million
time.
screens.
Yep.
You can gamble on these games all
Great
you want.
food.
Yeah, I won a 3-game parlay last year at the event. See?
You can go
Schulte winning a 3-way.
go
Yeah,
play
that's
slots.
damn right.
You can play blackjack. There's great drinks. Can you tell that I've been to the A a lot? It's a great time. You'll enjoy it.
I did enjoy sitting in my very Hawaiian-looking shirt with my chesticles hanging out. Just, I think Rob described me as right at home, and I was at A playing blackjack.
We have Merrill Hodge at the bottom of the hour. He is not as high on Caleb Williams, and he's very high on Jaden Daniels. Want to get his thoughts on Penix, Bo Nix. We had Baldy on yesterday, Brian Baldinger, our Odyssey NFL insider. Got some audio from him I'll bring back. How are they handling things in Boston? We'll get to that. Brock Heward, good friend of the station, particularly Isaac and Suk. I've talked to Brock a little bit, but Brock Heward is on with Colin Cowherd yesterday, and he made a point. He talked about what the Seahawks are doing. They're on the clock at 16. I've been saying out loud for a couple weeks, I think the Seahawks are going line play here, whether that's offense or defensive. It's a deep draft. There's some good defensive prospects, some really good offensive line prospects, really deep at that spot. But it's starting to build up a little buzz that it might not go that way. Here was Brock Heward's thoughts on the Seahawks, who are sitting at 16, how he views them in the first round.
Well, the Seahawks have the greatest advantage, more advantage than anybody else in the league in this draft. Because 2 of these 6 guys, if they want a quarterback, if they're going to go that route, as they've cleaned house on the coaching staff. Yesterday, they cut 3 guys. They're starting to clean house on the roster. They've got an advantage that nobody else has. Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff, the OC and O-line coach, were with this guy, building this thing for the last 2 years. On the other side, Mike McDonald was with J.J. McCarthy for a season at Michigan. That year, they finally beat Ohio State. So they have guys that don't have to, trust scouts or head coaches or GM's opinions. They were embedded with those guys. So they will know them better than anybody else. And I think those are the 2 that they would target, in my opinion, because of some of that background.
Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to draft a quarterback. It just means they have the information they need for both quarterback prospects of JJ and Penix.
Right.
I think I'm ready to flip. I'll flip-flop. I think they're going to take quarterback. He's making me feel like they're taking a quarterback. They have the information. Again, they could draft line. It would make sense to me. You don't have to throw yourself at a quarterback just to say you did it. But they have the information. He's not wrong there, and it makes me think that the Seahawks are going to dabble in the quarterback stuff at 16.
Yeah.
If not, move up and get one.
See, and that's where it gets interesting. I don't think they'll move up because John Schneider's not a move-up GM. In fact, he's a move-back GM.
But what did we learn about John Schneider?
It was a lot of Pete Carroll, too.
It was a lot of Pete Carroll. He liked, there was a story that he liked Mahomes. He liked Allen. Yeah. And they didn't do it.
Yeah, but you also got to be careful with that because when did that get released? It got released recently, right? When Pete Carroll gets left.
No, he was still at the Hawks. I want to say it was like before his last year or second to last year, and it was a super random story, and you're like, whoa, he really liked Josh Allen, and he didn't draft him.
After Allen and Mahomes have already been proven as good products, and they've worked, how many of those guys was he like, hey, I'm pretty interested in this guy that didn't work?
But, Will, if I showed you his notebook, John Schneider, who's running the show now.
Right.
If I showed you the notebook and had all of these notes on Josh Allen, regardless of what Allen has been, wouldn't you say, dude, nailed it? And I kind of want that guy to make the decision he thinks is best for the team at that spot?
Yes, and I don't disagree that maybe there's an opportunity for a quarterback to be what is best for them at 16. I don't know that J.J. McCarthy is there. From what everyone is saying, and it seems like there's everyone in NFL circles, from scouts, GMs, I mean, shoot, even some of the insiders, it seems like everyone is much higher on McCarthy than clearly we are. We've had the conversation before where it almost feels like they want to go with him because of what they think he can still do.
I just don't
almost
see
like,
it with him, yeah.
And I'm with there too, where it's like, it almost feels like because Michigan asked him to only do 3 things, everyone thinks, well, he could also do 4, 5, 6 that he hasn't shown the ability to do, but he also wasn't asked to do. What I would prefer, and this is coming from, a guy who's in the trenches, you have these issues on your O and your D line, specifically on your D line, where you were horrible against the run. You were bottom, you were in the 30, 31, 32 against the run last year. You're bringing in a defensive-minded head coach. Exactly. So why wouldn't you go into a draft where you can get solid defensive linemen at multiple different positions? You can grab a D tackle if that's what you want. You want a run stopper, you can go and get that. There are multiple D linemen at that D end outside linebacker spot that should be still available at 16. You could get the UCLA kid, Latu. You can go and maybe get a big riser right now in
Chop Robinson a reach, because some mocks have him at the back end of the first, but his measurements, his combine stuff was amazing.
If Versay's still there, that's someone that you could go get. So there are these other guys that are available in a position that I think is more of a need, that I think that they would go and take in that spot. If they are going to go quarterback, though, and I do think this is the draft to go and get a quarterback, I don't hate grabbing Penix. I worry about the injury issues. Other than the injury issues, Penix would be a higher draft pick in this draft if he didn't have those. I think you can still get him at the back end of the first or maybe in the second. So if you want to move up, then might be the better time to move up and go and get him.
Dane Brugler of The Athletic covers the NFL draft. He put out his mock yesterday. He's got the Vikings trading up with Tennessee and taking McCarthy.
Right. Like
He has McCarthy as the next guy after the other guys.
I think McShay was saying that he could see him now be like a top 10 guy. There's talk like he might
No, there's a lot of top 10 buzz
might
with
go to
McCarthy right
Atlanta.
now. Yes.
So I don't know that McCarthy will even be there.
In Brugler's mock, he has Atlanta actually trading up
Right.
and taking Jaden Daniels. He has
Yeah,
the Commanders going May, which, I feel like there's more buzz that Daniels is going second right now than May, but maybe Washington will pivot out of that. And then he has Atlanta going 3 because, dude, New England, they need a lot. And a quarterback could very well be what they do. But if you need a lot, your quarterback's not going to succeed very much. And then you don't want, after 1 year, let's go to Carolina.
Right.
I already thought Bryce Young was a bad idea. It's too small. It doesn't make sense to me. But even saying all that, he certainly didn't get a fair shake.
No.
But everybody's takeaway is,
yeah, he's not good enough.
right?
We
And
need
it's
to move
not
on.
that's not all his fault. This coach got fired. They hired a coach that was kind of a retread. Skill position. Yeah, just a lot of things were not built for him to succeed. That might be what it is in New England right now.
Yeah, and this is why the draft is so interesting, and the NFL has done a great job of making it now this big primetime event. Like you have the combine,
It goes to
later
different
on
cities.
in the day.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, their schedule in the NFL is perfect because you're always talking about them in the news. We're not even really going to get a true picture of where people are going to get drafted until 2-3 months from now, because as we get closer to the draft, once we're a week or two, because free agency hits before that. There could be a team that you're like Minnesota, for example. I don't think that Minnesota is necessarily going to need to get a quarterback. They're not going to necessarily need to draft one.
Minnesota?
Why? Because I think Kirk is going to come back.
Really?
But you're hearing all these rumors now from Florio that Kirk Cousins could be in Atlanta. Well, if he decides to sign with Atlanta, then Minnesota needs a quarterback and Atlanta doesn't need one. So how does that move around the draft order? There's always one team that you don't think about that might move up and go and get a quarterback that is going to move up and go and get a quarterback. So when it comes to a lot of these draft stuff, I like to wait until, 2 weeks or so before the draft, before I really start trying to make my predictions or, hey, where's this guy going to land or where that guy's going to land? Because right now, there's so many different variables that could change, that could completely determine where a quarterback gets drafted or doesn't get drafted, or what team goes out and gets a quarterback or doesn't. In Seattle, I really do think that they should draft the quarterback of the future. That's my personal opinion.
Penix too, especially, like, it's not just that he's good. It's, for a lot of people in Seattle, it'd be kind of cool. It'd be like the guy that was thrown at Montlake.
Right.
His OC's now the OC here.
Mm-hmm.
It just translates in. I don't know if he'll be good. I think that's the most impossible evaluation or takeaways. But I like him.
Right.
He knows the offense. Everybody up there watched him play. Whether you rooted for the Huskies or not, you watched him play.
Yeah.
There's a really cool part of that you can sell and get excitement. But they need some positions.
They need a lot of things.
I mentioned the Athletic mock. They've got Jackson's Power Johnson going. So Seattle trades down from 16 with Pittsburgh,
which
they fall to Pittsburgh's spot, and they take the center,
which would be a huge upgrade for them. Jackson Powers Johnson was the best center in all of college football. You could make the argument he was one of, if not the best lineman in all of football. The thing that's interesting too is, like, in that mock draft they trade with Pittsburgh. Well, if Pittsburgh signs Russell Wilson, then they don't need to make that trade with Seattle. They'll go get a different pick. Or if they think that Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett is the guy, then they won't trade either because they won't need to move up for that. So this is where it all gets interesting, and this gets into prime rumor season where it's like, I'm hearing this from this team, I'm hearing that from that team.
Yeah.
And it just seems a little premature. Like, yes, do I think Seattle's in a good spot? 100%, but they have a bunch of different holes to fill, and it's a deep draft. That's why I think they're in a good spot, not because they're at 16 and now they can kind of control who the fourth quarterback is that gets taken.
Let's roll over with some NFL stuff, some audio in Boston of how they're handling things in the draft process, and a fun fact about this player who was cut yesterday. We'll get to that, and then Merrill Hodge at 7:30. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
Here comes
different position and just stay at 3. They can get the best receiver, the best lineman, whatever. A lot of debate.
Mm-hmm.
Boston embraces the debate. They take a lot of phone calls. Hey, Tommy and Southie, go. Yeah, I think we should. And then it's just like off and running, Tommy. And Tony Maserati is a longtime radio host in Boston. He works for 98.5, the Sports Hub. And there is a skill position player that callers evidently have been calling and saying, I want New England to take this guy. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. They love Marvin Harrison Jr., evidently. The listeners do, of that radio station. And yesterday, he reached his breaking point. He doesn't want to hear about this anymore.
I am getting tired of everybody bending over backwards to get Marvin Harrison. It doesn't matter if you can't block and you don't have a quarterback. It's useless. Everybody's just caught up in the freaking toy. Like the highlight reel. It drives me bananas. I like the player too, but you have to be somewhat practical about it when you're building a team. Take Harrison. Yeah, I'd take Harrison at number 3. I want Harrison. He's a stud. He's only a stud if you get the quarterback and you can block. God, it's ass backwards. You can't build a team around a wide receiver. It's so annoying. Every freaking person that calls. Yeah, I want Harrison. Great, go get a wide receiver and let's get the crap kicked out of him. What good's that going to do? Even Dean's doing it, for crying out loud. He's a regular caller to the show. Like, Dean, get your head out of your ass. He sucks.
That was a Jason Swigard rant if I've ever heard one.
That was awesome. That was such an old man. Like, he's right. He is right.
He's not wrong. Why do you want a receiver? You don't even have a quarterback.
Especially in cold-ass New England.
I know.
He is right. You cannot build around Marvin Harrison Jr. just because of the position that he plays. But to just sound like my grandpa the whole time, he sucks. How can you have this guy? Quit calling. It's annoying. I don't want this guy. That was awesome. Every part of that was awesome.
His example too as a player of like, hey, how'd this work out for a team? Now, I don't think it's a fair example per se because their quarterback popped his Achilles on like the 3rd play of the game. His example is Garrett Wilson though. Like Garrett Wilson's awesome. He doesn't change anything win-loss wise, no matter how good he is, because they don't have a quarterback. And it's just, I would have thought New England was a city that wasn't doing that. Of all the cities in the NFL, like, hey, we watched it get built right and consistently. Let's take the nice receiver. We don't have a quarterback. I love that he's been driven to the point where he's calling some of these listeners idiots.
It's annoying.
It's annoying.
You're annoying me.
He sucks.
Well,
He sucks.
I lived in Boston for 10 months. Their sports fan is probably the most annoying in the country. I'd probably put up with a New York sports fan over
New York,
Boston.
Philly, and Boston.
Yeah.
It's obviously like 1, 2, 3 or 1A, 1B, 1C.
Can I give you a sneaky one?
Yes, please.
I think Miami's in this too. They think all the rest don't stink. They don't show up when their team's mediocre or bad. When they're great, they just want to get on the internet and tell you they're the most amazing thing that exists.
You might as well throw LA in there as well then.
No, I don't think LA's real.
LA has their moments where it's like, you
Dodgers,
suck 'em out.
Lakers, certainly, yes.
Yeah.
Everything else,
Yeah, well, that's football.
They care more about
it's not
the
there long
beach.
enough.
They used to
Yeah.
care about USC football, and then like that hasn't won in so long. You're like, cool. Hey, Lincoln's good. We'll show up. Oh, we lost. We're not going to be there next weekend.
I'll tell you what. I love a good sports rant. My favorite one though is what is it? Dom Grisessa or whatever his name is. The dude, boo his ass.
Oh, Don LaGreca.
LaGreca.
You confused Mike Francesa with Don LaGreca there. You kind
I
of
apologize.
you morphed them into one person, which, by the way, dangerous for radio if you were able to do that. Don LaGreca paired with Mike Francesa. Come on, man.
I love a good radio
He
rant.
sucks.
We need more people at the fan to
He
have
sucks.
stupid, crazy rants.
You piece of garbage!
Well, the only one that's capable of doing this, like on a semi-serious level, is Danny.
Yeah.
Dirt sometimes can be old curmudgeon-y fuddy-duddy guy too, but So in Boston, they're arguing over the number 3 pick and what they're going to do with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Trade back.
I think the best thing would be trade back, get more pieces. Merrill Hodge covers the NFL for a long time, played in the NFL, has thoughts on the quarterbacks in the draft. Let's talk to Merrill Hodge for the Daily Ticker next. But first, Schulte with a sports update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Their butchers, all trained chefs eager to help with cooking advice. Get to know your friendly neighborhood butcher online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fan, the Portland Trailblazers getting smacked by the Oklahoma City Thunder, tipping off a 6-game homestand last night. The final 128-120. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 37 points for OKC. Ant Simons put up 29 for Portland. The Rockets coming to town tomorrow. Of course, the Blazers off tonight. On the college hardwood, the Oregon Ducks hosting Colorado is a 2.5-point favorite down in Eugene. Coverage getting going right here on the Fan at 5:30 with tip-off set for 6 p.m. on ESPN2. The Beavers also in action. They're going to host Utah, though they are 6.5-point underdogs. You can watch that one also at 6 p.m. That one is on ESPNU. In the world of tennis, legend and 22-time Grand Slam winner Rafael Nadal has withdrawn from Indian Wells because he is, quote, not ready to play at the highest level in such an important event. The 37-year-old has played in just 12 official matches since the 2022 U.S. Open. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Fan Madness, presented by George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law, March 21st and 80 The Fan.
All right, daily ticker time here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Honored, excited. I can't sum it up any better. Excited to talk with Merrill Hodge, merrillhodge.com, on Twitter, @Merrill Hodge, a longtime NFL analyst, giving us breakdowns of what's going on in the games and a lot of the prospects. Merrill, good morning. Thanks for hopping on with us in Portland. It's the first time we've had you on the show. I have admired your work for a very long time. Please tell me you're in a Windsor knot right now, please.
I am. I'll just tell you I am, even if I'm not.
Okay.
That'll just, like, okay, well, tell me, is it raining?
Yes,
snowing?
it's pouring.
In Portland?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Every time I've been there, no matter when I came, it was just pouring rain.
Yeah.
It's a pretty place when it doesn't rain, but, man, does it rain a lot there.
It does. You have a lot of Caleb Williams thoughts that have circulated. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it, but we've also had a lot of people in similar roles. We had Brian Baldinger on yesterday, and admittedly said he's a little biased because he's known Caleb for a long time, but really likes Caleb, thinks he's everything as a prospect. You don't feel as strongly as that. Do you ever talk with people like Brian Baldinger or others in the industry that are of similar, you break tape down and just kind of share thoughts on why each of you maybe feels different on different prospects?
Well, listen, I've learned I'm a product of a lot of people. Okay, so I started in the National Football League. I played for Chuck Noll. I played for Bill Cowher. I played back-to-back Hall of Famers. Worked with guys like Mike Ditka, Jimmy Johnson, John Gruden, Marty Schottenheimer, Bill Parcells, Tony Dungy. I've coached every level of football. But the experience of playing has always struck my passion of evaluating. I've been doing this for like 40 years, from a player, coach, scouting evaluation, the whole different process. And there's a lot you can learn from people. I tell people all the time that, you've heard of the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, there's no more evidence than talent is in the eye of the beholder. And then here's why I think that I see it a lot differently than most people. I don't look at where they're playing. I look at where they're going to play. And that's not easy, and it's not easy for fans to understand, but everything changes from what they did in college, okay? Even the field is different, and most people don't even know that. So the hash marks are narrow in the National Football League, and that changes how the game is played. The game is played in the NFL in the middle of the field, like college is played on the perimeter of the field based on the hash marks being wider. Offenses that you run in college are different that you're going to run in the NFL. Defenses you're going to face are much different than you're going to face in the National Football League, and coverages and pressures and a certain level of competition is equal. Like in college, 70% of the time, our guys are better than your guys, and that's just college football. We're going to win. That's not true in the National Football League ever, and I don't care what their record is. We played the Patriots one year. They'd lost 10 in a row. We beat them on a goal line stand. We left the game going, how in the world are they 0-11? They're the hardest team that we played all year. So it's a different environment that they're heading into. And then there's certain things and certain ways you have to play in the National Football League that you don't get away with that you did in college. And that's why when you hear a person's exciting, well, that's not a skill set. That's just a bonus. Or he's a great kid. Another bonus, not a skill set. All those are pluses. There's a different environment and skill set that is required for the National Football League that has not changed. And it still exists. And if you don't have that skill set initially, then the learning curve becomes even harder. And that's why you got to show some type of polished aspect of what it takes to transition to the National Football League, from my perspective, to have a shot at it. And if you think about this, there's been two guys in the last 5 to 6 years that have done that have actually had a somewhat polished skill set that showed they could orchestrate and demonstrate what is required to play in the NFL. Maybe Joe Burrow and C.J. Stroud. So if we use those as our standard, then I'll explain what I mean by that. At the end of the day, you have to function from the pocket. How do you need to function from the pocket? These two things are required. They are intertwined. You can't have one without the other. You have to be accurate, and you have to be a very good processor. And there's levels of that processing aspect we can talk about, and accuracy. But if those two things are polished and are extraordinary, like C.J. Stroud was, then you start looking into, pocket movement, anticipation, toughness, leadership, shoot. Then number 5, you start getting into arm strength and all that other stuff. And then you start building from that. Well, if you don't have accuracy, you have no shot. If you are not a good processor and you really struggle in that, you have no shot. You can help processing sometimes based on, what they played in, how they did process. Is there improvement that can be happening there? Yes. Accuracy, if you're erratic, you're erratic. You can hone your skill set a little bit, but if you think of the level of learning now, okay, let's say you got an accuracy problem. We got to work on that. We can work on that, but we're only going to get so much better. And you got to learn the offense, and you got to learn how you execute this offense against the best players in the world, against the best defenses and best coverage. That is a monumental task if you have all of those issues, and you have to translate to the National Football League. So the less you have, the better chance you have of translating. So that's where I start with it, and I look at every player the same way. What do they have? What can you – and it isn't, people go, I can coach that. There's nothing you can't coach and teach. That's not the question you should be asking. What can be taught and what can be learned and applied? And what can a player take and apply to it? I can teach anything. But what can truly be learned and applied is where your challenge is. And those things are never asked. Just coach that'll fix that. Man, you don't always fix things. You can't give somebody instincts, can't give somebody toughness, you can't fix stupid. There's a lot of things you can't fix. Everybody agree, you can't give somebody speed, but all of a sudden you can give them all these other things. And that's actually where the problem lies in the transition. I look at the history of football, the National Football League. I'm like, everybody gets drafted, 30% of them are going to make it. 30%. On average, 30%. So we'd be better off going, hey, they all are terrible, and you'd be 70% right. So, but you got to go different layers of that. And I'll leave it with this.
Yeah.
If you cannot watch coaching tape on them, you cannot know. There is no way to know the truth. You can't watch the games on Saturday or Sunday and tell me that you know about a player or a team. TV lies, highlights really lie. And that's the problem, see, with fans. You put together a highlight reel. I could put a highlight reel together on everybody on this board, and they would look incredible. Like the guy that I have the biggest question marks about. I would not touch him in the first round, and there's not one piece of evidence that I just went through that I would even say he rates high enough to take a shot at, because my job is on the line, and that'd be Drake May. I would never touch him in the first round. No way would I touch him. And I hear these comparisons to Josh. I'm like, what? I don't. What comparison are they making? Arm, not even close. Ability to run and mobility, not even close. And he is erratic everywhere.
Mm-hmm. I
mean, everywhere. So, that's just the level of how you view things and how they, and do they have, and honestly, a lot of this, what's unfortunate, and people think that this is bad, and it's not bad. It would be so much better if a lot of these guys didn't get drafted in the first round, they got drafted in the second, because you know what happens? All of those levels of expectation and that I tell people all the time, people get, mostly quarterbacks, but this can happen to any player, get ruined mentally way before they get ruined physically. If they say, well, I guess Justin Fields is a great example. Shoot, Kenny Pickett's another good example. Walking into an environment and all of a sudden you have Justin Fields. In 4 years, he's had now 4 offensive coordinator changes. I can't even tell you. Tell me how in the world, in business, just take a business, for example. Let's take your own job, for example. Let's say that every day they decided to change what you did in the morning. They change every day that you did. You could never be good and consistent at something. You never get a flow or get to develop a skill at that. And, the kid has just not had a fair chance, You see, I know nobody that could function under that. The best can't function under that. That's one of the big reasons Troy Aikman left his career. Once his coordinator left, things started changing. Things weren't consistent. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Merrill, when you're going through this film from this quarterback class, how much are you taking into factor what they're being asked from their college? Like, are there times where, like, you're going through Jaden Daniels' film or Drake May's film, and you see them miss a hot route, or you see them miss a pre-snap read, and you ask or you talk with their coaches or people who've been around them, where it's like, did they know to look for a pre-snap read because they're going to have to look for that in the NFL? Or is it one of those things where they're not asked that in college? You have to look at the Wonderlic, or you have to look at other testing where it's like, okay, they have the brain capacity to make these reads. They just haven't been taught it.
It's a Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy thing, I think, that you're kind of saying, right? Like one didn't have to do as much as the other was leading his team offensively. The other was kind of handing off and trusting a run game and then making some throws here and there.
Like Mahomes didn't know what a mic was until he was 2 years in the NFL because no one asked him to learn that.
Right. Correct. Okay, so now listen, there is that level of coaching that they just don't get in college, and you have to understand a little bit. That has to come into part of the equation. What are you taught, and then what can you learn? That's why I go back to what you watch a guy who doesn't read. It's funny that you just mentioned Jaden Daniels. I was watching, I think it was a Texas A&M game, and I was like, man, he doesn't even recognize the front nor the potential pressure. And the reason I say that is because I can see where his head is, and then when he snaps the ball, he's oblivious to somebody coming off. So now I'm looking at where he's going to play. Okay, if you're functioning like that, then that's just one example. Okay, so you can't take one thing, but he didn't understand, and now so you go, okay, how much was he really taught? To you guys' point, what is his level of understanding? Let's go back to where he's playing. Okay, the pressures that come in college are just there's no short of high school. They are. Here's the biggest transition to the National Football League, no matter what player or position you're talking about. It's the IQ of the game. That is number one. I don't care what position you play. If you're not a smart player, if you don't understand the game, and you mentioned the Wonderlic, that's the stupidest thing ever to compare somebody to they're smart enough to play in the NFL. I mean, you should lose that right now. If anybody, you know what they said about C.J. Stroud? Because I evaluated C.J. Stroud I was doing some stuff with the Steelers and scouting. And I said, this guy is special. He could wear a gold jacket one day. He does things that are rare. And the first thing I said, well, he didn't do well on the Wonderlic test. I said, okay, time out. He doesn't play like that. So what are we doing on Sundays? Are we taking the Wonderlic or are we playing football? Because if we're playing football, I don't see that guy make any mistakes. He's as sharp and fast as anybody I've seen. He's like Joe Burrow. So I could care less what they did on the Wonderlic. I took the Wonderlic test. When I'm doing that, this is the stupidest thing ever. But is he relevant to football? It's relevant to testing. That's all it's relevant to. It's the dumbest thing ever. Now listen, just because and there's been guys that have been bad on the Wonderlic, but they've been bad football players and not very smart football players either. You knew that by watching tape. I didn't need a test to tell me that. But that Wonderlic test is the stupidest thing I've ever seen and or done. Or took as an evaluation. I never take a tool like that and go, yeah, the guy can play or can't play. I know that by watching tape. I don't need a Wonderlic test to tell me that.
Bo Nix, Michael Penix are big prospects, obviously local here. We tie in with the Ducks. We're the home of the Ducks. We've watched a lot of Huskies. What is your evaluation or thoughts on Bo Nix, Michael Penix? A lot of people debate, obviously, because of the rivalry, but their mocks are anywhere from mid-first to early second. How do you evaluate Bo Nix and Penix when you've looked at the tape?
They're both rock solid. And so I'll take Bo Nix. Some of Bo Nix's strength is like everything across the board is rock solid. You're just like, then you can trust him. He executes, and he executes the offense, and that's what you need to do. Is there any elite in him in every area? No. In fact, the best thing that could happen to Bo Nix would be to be, okay, here's the case. Here's my point. He'd be a great kid to get in the second round. You draft him in the second round, it's a whole different level of expectations of the rush to run out there and the pressure that's going to mount. And keep in mind these expectations when you are drafted. Number one, you are now the only member they have is somebody who gets drafted in the first round and came in there and took a team from almost last to playoffs is C.J. Stroud. That's your standard now. And that is such an unfair standard because so many things have to take place. Okay, what type of coaching are you getting? What kind of people are around you? What kind of team are you going to? The value of sitting there and taking some time. I don't care how skilled you might be. You got to be extremely skilled to really transition and play as a rookie, as a quarterback. And the more they were able to sit, the better off they would be. But that would be the best thing for him. And I would not put him as a first-round grade. I wouldn't put Michael Penix as a first-round grade. And for some of the, even though they're a little different, because one thing that Penix does a lot that does translate to the National Football League is they shift in motion. They do a lot of stuff. They move a lot of traffic. So listen, moving stuff isn't. People think it's moving offense is the big deal. That's not the big deal. It's oftentimes when you do that, you're changing what the defense is doing too. So you got to register that too. You got to process all of that. It isn't just our movement; it's their movement too. And how does that? And he actually does a really good job of processing that. Why did Peyton Manning do no shifts, no motions? That's why. He didn't want anybody to be moving. He wanted you to sit in something, because now if you're sitting in something, I know you can do only one of 4 or 5 things. Now in the NFL, you can do 1 of 4 or 5 things. That's one thing you're looking that you might be sitting in. In college, you know you're going to get what you're getting. Whereas the NFL is completely different. That's why they did do shifts of motion. So when you do shifts of motions, you know, people can say that's a really cool thing for your offense, but there's sometimes players, I'm not saying Peyton Manning couldn't handle that. He could handle it. He just chose to do it this way because he was so good at knowing what you were going to do and dialing up something that I'll be able to sting you with. Yeah. I get to the best play possible to attack what you're doing. But I like that he operates like that. You know, he has a real dynamic arm. You know, he's accurate. You know, and I know this, like, all of his injuries will play a role. Now I understand he got a complete bill of health. You know, some people will use that and just go, boy, I'm worried that he's going to get – I get asked that all the time. Well, what about his injuries? I go, well, I'll use my own career. I played like 15 games from my sophomore year, and I started as a freshman. I played 15 games in 4 years. I couldn't stay healthy. I don't think I played ever more than 5 games in a year. Maybe my senior year, I take that back. I think I played 10. Then after my freshman year, I started my sophomore year, and I played 13 straight years without ever missing a game or a down or a practice from college to the NFL. And I'm like, I was in Chicago. We drafted a tight end to come out of Illinois, and the raving was, this guy played 4 years, never missed a game. I think he played 4 games for us because he's hurt all the time. So, so you can't. I can't predict it. Joe Burrow. Everybody's like, well, did he get hurt? You just can't. And the kid may never get hurt again. But I think he's another guy that best if he were in the second round. I don't see his skill set being first round worthy because of the ultimate pressure that's put on these guys, and they just don't have the skill set to withstand what is coming their way, especially if they go to a bad team. You know, that's the other element of this, and all the things that have to go right, and then how you got to develop and evolve. And people think listen, I'd like going the first round too. And I came out, of course you do. And I understand all of that, want to do that. But man, the best thing for a long career, and a successful one and a mature one and a developed one is to not get put in a place that you just are not prepared to handle. And those two guys, they almost fall in the same category for me. They're uniquely a little different, but they do a great job of functioning the system that they're in. They're accurate. They process the system that they're in. They function in a dirty pocket. Okay, now Penix actually gets a little more erratic. It's ironic, that's a little question mark for me. It's not bad, but it's a concern because that's where he's going. Okay, he's not going to be sitting in a pocket for 3 or 4 seconds and being able to pick some of the best receivers at the college level. Okay, my guys are good as your guys. That pocket's going to be 30 now. And I'm going to have to move and throw, and being able to do that is critical. He struggles a little bit in that department, but it's not so bad that I'm like, oh, he'll never do that, because he does enough good in it that I lean towards he can work through that because he shows me enough evidence of that.
Yeah. Merrill, I'm sure you hear this every interview you do. This is such good insight and breakdown of the nuance that goes into just looking at the position by itself, let alone who it is and where they're from and where they're going. We are in radio, so we're already against it, and so
breaks, baby.
I know I hate the breaks, but I'll tell you what. I have a contact with you. I'd love to get you on closer to the draft because I know you're starting to break down some of the line prospects. We got some line prospects locally. Yep. I'd love to catch up with you in maybe a month or so and get you back on and talk about some other positions as well.
Reach out, boys. Love to do it, and I hope the sunshine is bright for you guys today.
It is, my man. Thank you for hopping on with us.
See you guys.
All right, there we go. Merrill Hodge, merrillhodge.com. Great stuff from him. Let's break.
Yes.
Come back. He gave us a lot to think about with what goes on. I mean, it's a non-NFL employee running through how many scenarios of what this is as an evaluation. I don't know how you guys took that, but let's talk about it on the other side next on The Fan.
Who's Stinking It Up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
Great third quarter. Oh, what a block from Jackson Davis, and another one. Back-to-back rejections for the rookie. Curry dancing, goes inside, throws it up, and Jackson Davis completes it. There's a little rookie rampage.
Yeah, there we go. Mike Breen putting it well on ESPN. 2 blocks on Giannis. Trace Jackson Davis there getting the lob, and the Warriors stomp out the Bucks. They win 125-90.
It's almost like they lost by 50 or something crazy earlier, so they wanted to get off the Stinking It Up report.
Yeah, it felt that way. 9 points they held Milwaukee in the fourth quarter to. Stinking Up Milwaukee's offense, brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electric services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle those projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com. Just like one answer gives you an idea of what goes into this stuff.
Right. Well, and then because each system is different, each head coach, each offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, they ask different things. It can look the same school to school or playbook to playbook, but there's going to be certain asks that they ask. One team might ask more out of a quarterback because they can handle it. One team might take away from a quarterback. I know with Jaden Daniels early on, LSU, they dumbed it down. Hey, here are your 2 reads and then run because he's so athletic. Don't try and think through all these different things. Here's the first read, here's the second read, make the throws,
right,
or just run. And so going to Merrill and being like, how do you figure out what the team is asking of him? And if you do that, how much do you factor in where can you teach someone this? Where can you teach someone that?
What can you teach people versus
Right.
will their instincts override in real time those things you've been taught?
How important is the Wonderlick? All those great questions.
Evidently not important. It was
loved that.
That was the dumbest thing he said he's ever done.
That was he went on a minute rant about how he hated the Wonderlick.
Well,
it was awesome.
You know
He's
why?
right.
You know why he took the test. He as a prospect, he knows it. But like I think the other part is, and it's not just the only player. He was. I mean, look, Merrill Hodge for me. When you talk quarterbacks, he's got a great track record. It's hard to argue against the track record. And he used a guy last year that we were debating. Is he even the second pick?
Mm-hmm.
Like we watched C.J. Stroud be awesome. We watched him almost should have beaten Georgia in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
But we did two things. We said, oh, man, he's got a lot of weapons. And then we also said, for some reason, I can't believe this was actually a real takeaway. Nobody from Ohio State's ever been a good quarterback. We're still playing that game with some colleges. It's unbelievable that we're doing that.
We're playing it right now with Drake May. Now, he has legit reasons to back up why he doesn't like May, and you can agree or disagree. But there are people out there that are honestly saying, well, you can't Drake May, Mitch Trubisky failed.
What colleges have not had quarterbacks anymore? Like, had a quarterback that succeeded. Can you name one?
Every time.
Alabama's got two. Ohio State's got Stroud now. Oregon has Herbert. Michigan's got Brady and then anybody else.
Yeah, USC. I mean, Palmer did well.
Yeah, Palmer was really good before the injury. And oh, by the way, Palmer got him to an NFC title game.
Yeah,
and we'll have to wait and see on Caleb.
Georgia. Stafford's been pretty good.
Stafford won a Super Bowl. Yeah, I'd say pretty good.
Cal, but for every Rodgers and Goff.
Yeah,
but for every single school that has those guys that succeed, they also have 4 or 5 guys that fail.
Well, yeah, but my point is, like, people were really holding on. I heard that. I legitimately heard that last year in the draft. He's not going to be good because he's from Ohio State and they never have quarterbacks. What?
Well, then people tried to claim that Joe Burrow was a good one because he was from Ohio State, and it's like, well, but he was LSU.
Yeah.
The draft gets dumb.
It just does. I'll say, and we'll go to the final hour here. It's amazing to me in just an interview of 17 minutes.
Right.
How much he added to the depth of each guy. And it's still something you have to talk about and think about and evaluate for months.
Mm-hmm.
And no wonder they miss all the time.
Yeah.
You're over preparing for it. You're thinking too hard. You know, they probably did this with Mitch Trubisky. They played all of these why or why nots. And ultimately, they just talked themselves into why you should. And it didn't work. I don't know if it'll work for Drake May. I don't know if it'll work for Daniels or Williams. I mean, the math, to his point, the math says bet against them.
Right.
Especially that position.
70% fail.
Nix and Penix, it's never great to hear. Everybody wants to be a first-round pick. Maybe they will be picked in the first round, but I thought his point was valid. Like, you kind of want to slip a little bit, man. Like, then the expectations drop a little bit, where internally they might view you as the franchise guy, but not everybody's walking in with that thought. We got to go. We have the final hour of the show. We're already in it, but let's go to the final hour. Dirt and Sprague. We have a lot to get to. Ken Barkley is supposed to be on now, so let's get our break as quick as we can. Ken Barkley next on The Fan.
March is a critical time to check your home's windows. Hey, it's Rob. Call the pros at Window Nation. Right now, for every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 windows free. Plus, 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 24 months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com now.
Hey, it's Suk. And guys, for those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. It sucks to be me.
being so late today. Merrill Hodge dove into quarterback talk with us and was like, kind of giving us a glimpse of what it's like for these teams evaluating these guys.
Which is that it's a mess, probably, right? Because like I saw this argument take place on Twitter with Lou Riddick, who's like a ESPN analyst who I like, and like random fans. Basically, this is like an argument between. But it was funny because like I would trust Lou Riddick over Portland fan 69 any day of the week probably. But like it was just funny because with this specific issue, with like who is going to be good, like is Caleb Williams going to be good? Is Drake May going to be good? Is JJ McCarthy going to be good? Like Lou Riddick was kind of like going back at all these random people like, you could have an opinion, but like, is it an informed opinion? And I want to be like, look, man, on this one, we all take L's. Like you take L's, the GMs take L's. Like the success rate on these is impossibly low. Nobody knows anything about how these guys are going to develop. It's like, oh, well, you can't comment on it. Well, the Jets took Zach Wilson second. I'm at least as smart as them. I'm at least as good as that one. So it's just like, this is like the one thing where I feel like you can be a former player, a GM, an executive, like, we're all going to swing and miss like 4 out of 5 times at least on this stuff. And it's one of the things, honestly, that makes it so interesting.
Yeah, Ken, he said 30% of these guys are going to succeed. So if you just take that math, you're going to be right 70% of the time and be a genius, which it's a valid point, but still people get into the hot take part of this. Have you bet any futures on any draft order? Do you dabble into that stuff? Do you have an idea or an opinion of how you think the quarterbacks are going to go in this thing?
Yeah, so later, like when we get closer, I think yesterday was 50 days until the NFL draft, so 49 days right now, which makes sense, right? It's Thursday, yeah, so 7 weeks. 7 weeks from today is the first round. And so, look, when we get really close, like Nick, my co-host, and I, we're in different circles. Like he's sort of in an NFL circle, and I'm in like a betting circle. And we'll get stuff sometimes really close to the draft, like, hey, the Raiders they're going to take an offensive lineman, like for sure. Like no matter who's available at whatever, 17, whatever their pick is. And sometimes we'll get stuff like that and we'll bet it. My philosophy this early, because like, let's be honest, like the teams don't even really know what they're doing yet. So how are we supposed to know what they're doing? They don't even know. What I like to do is take really big long shots on things that are actually realistic because we don't know anything. So I'll give you 2 examples of bets that fit that description. JJ McCarthy to go in a lot of the early picks, like 3, 4, 5, after Caleb, probably not second, but that price is huge. 15, 20, 50 to 1 in some places, and in McCarthy to go in these picks. Why can't he be the last guy teams trade up to take? Why can't he be the 3rd quarterback? Why can't he be the 4th quarterback? The prices are massive. Everyone seems to like him. And what we found out last year, too, we had these 4 quarterbacks. Nobody knew what order they were going to go in. Like, we thought Stroud was going to go 1, then it was Bryce Young. We thought Levis was going to go 3rd for a really long time. Then he went 34th or whatever, and Richardson went before. So, like, we know who the quarterbacks are. We just don't really know the order. And so I kind of challenge the assumption, play McCarthy to go earlier than people think, like maybe earlier than Drake May, maybe earlier than Jane Daniels. The whole point is at huge prices. And then the other one, I'm sure you guys have probably seen all the Marvin Harrison Jr. like prices and probably watched college last year, and he was the best wide receiver. Like there's no question. Except a lot of teams like Malik Neighbors from LSU more. That's like what we started hearing, and that's kind of starting to get out. But that's not for every team, but for some. And again, Neighbors to go before Harrison is basically 7 to 1 right now. Like really, we know enough. Like who even knows who's going to trade into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? And what guy did they like when they do that?
Yeah.
You know what? Like I like to play into we have no clue as opposed to like, well, I know for sure on March 7th that this is what it's going to be. Some of the markets are shaped like it has to be a certain way. I like to play the opposite way.
Ken, we're getting into March, and everyone knows that that's tournament time. Some of the conference tournaments, smaller schools, they're starting today. WCC starts today down in Vegas. What are some futures that you're looking at in those tournaments to win WCC tournaments, the smaller schools? Or is there a team that you really like right now that you think not only can make a big run in their tournament, win it, but can make a big run in the NCAA tournament?
Sure, yeah, and it's a great question, right? I think
Thanks.
There's so many small conference tournaments going on like today and tomorrow. I've done work on some of them for sure. Like I have, I think the Ohio Valley started last night maybe with the opening round, but a lot of that hasn't. I played Youngstown State in that for like a lot. They were one of the 3 favorites to win the tournament, so I liked them. In the Patriot League, I took Lehigh like a big price. I think they're like the only team that could beat Colgate is like the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs of that conference. They just literally win it every single time. And I think they've hosted the title game 5 straight years. But Lehigh has like played them really close. So I like those two. For the second part, and I think this is the part probably more people care about, like when I fill out my bracket, like who are teams that I should know about at least if I see them on a 13 line or a 12 line. And there's a pretty strong consensus opinion about these. Like these aren't teams that only I'm going to talk up, right? I think a lot of people think these teams are really good. The two that stand out to me would probably be Samford if they win their conference tournament. They have like a sort of like a young, exciting coach who was like really good in the Alabama high school scene, I guess, for a little bit. I forget his last name. It's like Bucky something, and I don't have my work in front of me. But he's got a name that tells you he coaches Samford, I guess would be the right way to put it. And they're gonna be like a 13 if they win their tournament. And they like look. And what you'll notice this year, the 3s, 4s, and 5s all suck. They're all terrible. They're really bad. Like Kentucky is probably the best one, and Kentucky doesn't play any defense, and they're probably not going to make a deep run. But like Auburn's not great. You know, San Diego State's not great. The Illini aren't great. Like these are teams where like if you give and Samford Auburn is one of the projected matchups that a lot of people have. That would be an interstate game. Like that's actually a really fun game, and Auburn can always get beat in the first round. So Samford I think is interesting. A lot of people like Grand Canyon and talk them up. Like they'll be a 12, they'll play a 5, it'll be a small point spread. Maybe they win. And then the other one is McNeese State. They would be like the other one I would just keep an eye on. Just a lot of their metric profile is awesome. You know, you see them against a Mountain, again, same kind of teams, right? Mountain West team, Wisconsin, who I think everyone's going to be dying to bet against in the NCAA tournament because the Big Ten has been so bad and Wisconsin's been so inconsistent. So I think the 3, and you'll get those from everybody, I think, but there's, you know, I think on this one, everyone's right usually. Grand Canyon, McNeese, Samford, I think those are 3, like, you should want them to win their conference tournament. So maybe you get to bet them as an underdog in a fun first round game.
Ken Barkley, you better, you bet. Catch it every day. Nick Costos is co-host. Follow him on Twitter at Lockie Lockerson, BetQL Network, radio stations nationwide, Odyssey app as well. You had mentioned before football was done, I'm tired of football, and I'm not going to linger on the football. I got my football question out of the way. Did you do a happy dance somewhere in a kitchen or a bedroom when the Boston Celtics choked away a 20-point lead to the Cavs and Jason Tatum became even more unclutched to people? Like, you've been on this for a while, and I can't remember who it is, Ken. I wish I could tell you, but I heard somebody kind of steal what you've been saying now, and I try to remember who says what in this industry because so many people say things.
You can just say it's everybody.
It's probably everybody, but you've been on this about is their best player a top blank, and Tatum has not qualified as this for you, so you're kind of against Boston. They've been awesome this year. Did you do a happy dance in your kitchen when they choked away the 20-point lead and made people second-guess them and go, are they just good in the regular season type team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was the first one to come up with this theory, but I kind of feel like I was.
I think you were in my life.
It was a few years ago. Yeah, like it was going into the Warriors finals, and then all the next year, and then this year. And I don't know if I was, well, I guess some part of me was doing a happy dance because it's just like, how many games do you guys need to see what I see? And like when they played Denver coming up tonight. It was like a really awesome game. We'll see if everybody's going to play. I don't know if Jaylen Brown's going to play or not, but like that game's awesome. The first time they played Denver the exact same thing happened. Like they got in the final 3 minutes of the game and Denver executed better than they did and Denver won. And they almost dropped a game to Minnesota earlier this year and doing the same thing. The game went to overtime because they couldn't get shots in the final 3 minutes. There's a part of me that was like, see, told you. But then there's another part of me that's like, I already know that. Like, I know I'm right. Sorry. Like, I really feel confident about this. So I'm almost like, well, man, like, if everyone figures it out, then I get a worse price on Denver. Because everybody's going to go to Denver if they don't like Boston. And I think they're right. I think Denver is more likely to win the title, even if it's only by a little bit, than the Celtics are. So my concern is like, let's say the Celtics do that tonight, and then they play Milwaukee twice the rest of the season. Maybe they do it in one of those games, lose a close game. My problem is like, I'm going to get way worse prices then, because now everyone's going to think this. It's the funny thing about betting. Like normally you want everybody to be like, man, you're such a genius. You were so right. Like that, this is awesome. And in betting, you actually want like no one to think the thing that you think. because that means you can make so much more money.
Yeah.
Like if you think something that no one else does, then the price is awesome. And my concern with that Celtics game, it was so high profile. We all talked about it. Now I hear that everywhere. I hear like, well, in crunch time, this team can't score. Tatum like box down these possessions. Missoula doesn't call timeout.
Yeah.
Like all these things. And I go that's my thing. And now everybody thinks it because they saw it again. So I think I was right, but I don't know.
Quickly, I'll get you out of here. You had mentioned last week you ended up getting the gift box that I mailed you. I believe you said your mom was in town. Was it okay? Was it all right for you?
We haven't done. Oh, you know what? We went in the wrong order here. We didn't do the salmon first. I still got the salmon in the fridge.
Oh,
that's gonna be. I have the kids solo, which means like I gotta make them like mac and cheese and like figure out meals because my wife's out of town. And I'm gonna dig into the box big time.
Great.
We did some of the stuff.
Okay.
Some of the things were very good.
Okay.
I mean, it's like I feel like most gift boxes. It's like here's cheese, meat, salmon, like some spreads, some like fun stuff. Yeah, like this stuff's great. I appreciate it. What I appreciated more was that Michigan won because I won $1 billion. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, I was a little upset that I lost that bet, but I was happy that you were right because I know in your industry, to your point, everybody just wants to, hey, I'm right. I always get this right. It's an impossible standard, but needless to say, you're after it daily. Ken Barkley with Nick Costos, You Better You Bet. Ken Barkley joins us every 8 a.m. On Thursdays. Catch him on the BetQL Network, the Odyssey app, and they're on radio stations nationwide. On Twitter, @Lockie Lockerson. Ken, thanks for hopping on with us. Sorry we were a little late. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, there we go. Ken Barkley, You Better You Bet. Back with some NFL next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Colin Cowherd.
All the Denver Laker games.
And Nick Saban, what drove him to leave maybe a year earlier than he wanted to. We'll get to that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Our thanks again to Merrill Hodge and Ken Barkley today. The Buffalo Bills cut Jordan Poyer. They cut a lot of players yesterday, but one that of local note, Jordan Poyer has been with the Bills for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Their record with him versus when he's out is remarkable. He's had a pretty damn good career. And one of the cap casualties yesterday is Buffalo is looking to free up space. Jordan Poyer cut by the Buffalo Bills.
A lot of safety. I mean, he's the fourth of the big four, right? You've got Jamal Adams, you've got Quandre Diggs, Simons just got cut in Denver. It seems like this year is a year.
Yeah, they cut Simmons. Tre'Davious White also got cut in Buffalo. Like massive amounts of salary cap casualties.
Which is funny, too, especially after you've been hearing all offseason, well, look at how much the cap has risen. It's a historical rise. I wonder with a lot of these situations if you're cutting the safety DB that's right around, he's in his 30s or he's 29. Let's move on from him now. If we can sign him back at a cheaper deal, perfect. If not, we'll go get a younger safety. Safety isn't one of the positions where it seems like it's a big draft class with a ton of really talented safeties, but it also is a draft class where you have a bunch of quarterbacks, O-linemen, and D-linemen. So maybe the safeties just haven't been dove into as deep, and a lot of NFL circles think it is a really deep safety class.
There were a lot of people in Buffalo, saddened by this. They really liked Jordan Poyer. You go through the cuts. By the way, they also cut their center. If you go through the cap casualties in Buffalo just with that, the amount of snaps that you're losing of experience. Now, it's not that you can't replace, that you can't go find the next young thing on a young contract. But people also highlighted what Poyer did. And I know this isn't the part of football any of us care about, but Jordan Poyer played through injury. He had that game last year where he had to drive to Kansas City to play in it.
That's right. Couldn't fly.
For a guy that sacrifices so much physically, that's the side of the sport that unfortunately sucks.
Right.
Is we're conditioned to not care. It's like, he makes too much money. Get him out of here. Whereas in life in general, when somebody makes sacrifices like that, you generally want to reward it with loyalty. But that is not a sport of loyalty. But people in Buffalo just reminiscing over. And again, they cut a lot of players in Buffalo. But Jordan Poyer was one that a lot of Bills Mafia loved.
Right. Well, and the other issue too for him is his situation. It hasn't worked in Buffalo. You've gotten to the playoffs, but you've never taken that next step. You haven't won an AFC championship game yet. You haven't even made it to a Super Bowl yet with this iteration of the team. And I do feel like there's some growing pressure now on you have to make a bigger change because you've been close, but every time you run into Kansas City, you lose. You're right there. You do almost everything. You do almost just enough to win, but you don't quite. So I wonder if this is them kind of hitting a reset is the wrong way to phrase it, but let's free up some money on the defensive end. Let's get younger because they were old and had a lot of money tied up in their defense. Let's get a little bit younger. Maybe we can surround another weapon or two on the offensive side with Josh Allen, but also let's get a younger, cheaper defense. We can get more depth, build that back up, and maybe that'll be what we need to do to make that final push and get over the hump.
Yeah, they restructured Von Miller. I don't really have a lot of trust that Von Miller's that good anymore.
Yeah, that's the one that defeats everything I just said.
Injuries, and they had a weird off the field incident in Dallas that nobody really talked about, and that's the thing is there's a little bit of the Kansas City model with this of hey, paid the quarterback, that's not cheap. We have to find other ways to be good at certain spots. We can't reward all of these guys.
Right.
And restructuring and cutting yesterday happens. You mentioned getting a weapon. I mean, it's not the most important spot, but man, when you throw one of the prettiest deep balls I've ever seen in my life and your number one, biggest confidence guy at receiver just flat out drops it, it makes me think you need another piece. You need something else to help Josh Allen out.
He's also seemed very old. You've seen them start to build more around the tight end position and the running back position with Cook, and then you've got Kincaid and Knox. I wonder if this is a way, hey, we're going to free up some space on the defense and we'll build through the O-line because they're moving on from some of the older O-linemen. it's a bummer because you get to a point, and it's clear that Jordan Poyer and I think Quandre Diggs falls into this as well, where they are still performing at a high level, but they're at an age where you start to see that decline, and they make a lot of money. And because they make a lot of money, they almost are held to an even higher standard. They're playing at a standard that should keep them in the NFL, should keep them starting on multiple teams and on most teams. But because that contract value is as high as it is and the age is as high as it is, they get cut in the hopes of, well, now they'll take less money and maybe come back with us or come back with a different team at a much cheaper price tag.
Who will play more games next year, Von Miller or Ben Simmons?
Oh, geez. I don't like having to say Von Miller, but it can't be.
Ben Simmons was shut down for the year with his back injury. Shocking.
I refuse to bet anything on Ben Simmons other than the under. I will not bet on
I'll just come out and say it. I was a go get Ben Simmons Blazer guy.
I thought it was such a great idea.
I was like, you know what? I understand the concern, but the skill set, the size, all of it, he'd been an All-NBA guy once. I absolutely was wrong on that one. Whoa, a swing and a whiff. Not even close to the fastball. Ben Simmons, I also take Von Miller, and I don't think Von Miller's really that good anymore.
No, he's over the hill. The Ben Simmons one is so funny. I was like, it'll be perfect. He can just play defense. That's all he wants to do. CJ and Dame will score all the points.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play basketball is what he wants to do.
He made his money. He wants to hang out in Miami and be rich. I get it. Look, I get it.
He's got that Anthony Randone mentality. This is just a job to him, I'm sure. No, sir,
I don't even think he views it as a job, Schultz. I think he views it as a money grab so he can get out of it.
Yeah,
and then just be famous, hooking up with other famous people.
Yeah, the Hots are still going to keep calling him.
Hell
they don't
yeah,
care
brother.
what his averages are.
He's a good-looking guy, and he's 6'10". He's got long arms,
a lot of money,
for about
big
5
hands.
more years until that money runs out.
Big hands, big feet.
Means big shoes and big gloves.
Absolutely. Which means more love.
That's what I've heard.
Buffalo cutting Jordan Poyer. Kalen DeBoer is a flat-out liar. Absolutely. And what happened that caused this? We'll get to it next on The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Their butchers are all trained chefs eager to help with cooking advice. Get to know your friendly neighborhood butcher online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on The Fan, the Portland Trailblazers getting smacked by the Oklahoma City Thunder last night as they tipped off a 6-game homestand, 128-120 the final. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 37 for the Thunder. Anthony Simons put up 29 for your Blazers. They are off today before the Rockets come to town tomorrow. Bad news for the Brooklyn Nets. They announced that Ben Simmons will miss the rest of the regular season because of ongoing back issues. He only ended up playing in 15 games this season. On the college hardwood, the Oregon Ducks hosting Colorado as a 2.5-point favorite tonight down in Eugene. Coverage getting going right here on The Fan at 5:30 p.m. Tip-off set for 6 on ESPN2. And the Beavers also in action. They host Utah. They are 6.5-point underdogs in that one. You can catch it at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. And in the NFL, the Denver Broncos are releasing safety Justin Simmons. He was their third-round pick in the 2016 draft. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, The Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.
Telling Joe Fish about Will Ortner thinking he could take a hit from Mike Tyson and not get knocked out. Talked about that earlier. Jake Paul is going to fight Mike Tyson on Netflix.
I was much nicer to him about his I can run a 5.27 take. I just want that out there.
You're talking about a former heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, come on.
He's 57.
Dude, there are
and I'm 26.
There are fighters that take one hit and that's it. It's like one smack to the skull. As you said,
how viral would that go?
One
if
hit
I
in the right
died?
spot, dude.
See, that's your problem. You're concerned about going viral as if that does anything
Well,
for you.
I'm not doing this for
If I went into a
virality,
coma.
but if
Yeah.
I did die, that would be the most viewed video of all time.
Speaking of the most viewed video of all time, I want to give a special congratulations and shout out. Schultze's wearing the right clothing for this. Dan Lanning is a genius.
Yeah.
Said it when it happened. I'll say it again. I'll echo it even louder. Dan Lanning is a genius. When Alabama was looking for a coach, everybody ran because some guy in Kezi Eugene or KVAL or whoever it was said, I have a person who knows that Lanning's in Tuscaloosa.
Who is that person?
He said he saw him.
Who?
He
Who
said
is
he
that
had a
person?
friend who saw him.
Dan
Lanning was watching a movie. He was watching like action marathon movies with his children who are like, Dad, they're saying you're in Alabama. And he's like, really? That was not true. And Lanning was tied to the Alabama job because once upon a time he's a grad assistant. How did Dan Lanning respond to that? Well, the guy who said, they do it for clicks, we're in it for wins, he said, let's make some clicky stuff. And he did a big video.
It was a pretty good video.
I ain't going, it was a great video. I'm not going anywhere. And Duck Fan just went, oh my God, my pants couldn't be tighter. ESPN did a breakdown of Nick Saban leaving, Kalen DeBoer going, and basically Dan Lanning was not a guy. I mean, I think he was a guy, but he wasn't a guy. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a finalist. He wasn't looked at in that light. And that doesn't matter because Dan Lanning got in front of all this stuff and said, I'm staying, bitch, and made a great promo video for him and his university. Dan Lanning's a genius. Kalen DeBoer, he's a fat liar. He's a big, fat, goofy liar. He is one of the biggest liars.
He's a football coach.
You're not wrong. But in this ESPN story by, I think it was Chris Lowe, who's covered Alabama for a long time, great sourcing, goes through the Nick Saban departure and the DeBoer hire. The two ones for Alabama were Mike Norvell and Kalen DeBoer. Greg Byrne refuses to say who was ahead of who. That kind of leads me to say that I think Norvell was their guy.
Yeah.
Because if it's DeBoer, don't you just outright proclaim it? I would have done that anyway and just been an even bigger liar if I was Greg Byrne. But he refused to answer that. Norvell signs an extension. DeBoer said this. These are real quotes. Quote, I mean, that Tuesday was hard after the national championship game. We're flying back from the game, and you're just trying to get yourself back. I was texting kids on the plane just about how I felt about them, how strong I felt, especially the guys that were done with their careers. You're working through all of that. And then on Wednesday morning, DeBoer said he woke up and he said, quote, I was like, okay, quit feeling sorry for yourself, and let's get up and let's go. We've got to go win this thing. There's another step here at Washington, end quote. Added, it wasn't even on my radar, not sure it was on anybody's radar, and then it happened. People from all over started calling, asking. I guess I knew with everything we'd accomplished, I might have some inquiries about jobs, but not that one, end quote.
Lies.
He had two chances. Two. Dos minutos. He had two chances to sign contract extensions that would have more than doubled his current salary. He refused the first time. They tried to get him again after the season. He refused.
That's exactly what he was asking for.
Interesting. I would have never left such a special place. You always hear that line. I wasn't even thinking about leaving. Then why'd you turn down the first extension offer? Because you thought you'd win and you'd make more? Okay. They offered you another extension. You said no to that too. He's a liar. They're all liars. Don't ever listen to coaches. You can love videos. You can love a guy winning big games. Don't believe them. Most, if not all of them, are liars. Kalen DeBoer is a liar. I think Kalen DeBoer knew that this season was going to get him an offer, and it was going to get him an offer of somewhere he was going to go. Did he know it was Alabama? No.
Mm-hmm.
But he knew if you offered him Alabama, he'd take it.
I also think that DeBoer knew this is about the peak that you could get at UW. Look at that team. You had a quarterback that was a Heisman finalist. You had, 26 of those players have now moved on either to other teams or they just flat out graduated. You had a NFL caliber 3 wide receiver room. You had a great running back. You had the best offensive line in all of college football. And yeah, your defense wasn't amazing, but it was littered with guys who are in the NFL draft this year and will be drafted at the defensive line position. You also have DBs that they are going to be drafted and play in the NFL in a year or two. Muhammad is the one that sticks out in my head.
If he stays healthy at Oregon, he's going to have a monster year and he'll be one of the top prospects.
UW is a school that is big enough, and if you get everything right and everything revolves around you in the perfect spot, you can win a title. But you have to have all these other factors come in around, and it almost has to be a special type of season.
It's a hard place to what you're saying. It's just so hard to be that consistently good there.
And I just don't think that you can be. You don't have the NIL. You're not going to get the players in that way.
Nobody in the Pac-12 or now whatever conference they're in has proven to be able to do that.
Right. And this isn't a knock. There are like 3 or 4 schools that can legitimately do this. And DeBoer knew that he would have a chance to be up for at least one, if not more, right? Because guess what? If Norvell would have taken the Alabama job, guess who's up for the Florida State job?
If Ryan Day would have got fired at Ohio State, you don't think Kalen DeBoer's going to Ohio State?
Right.
Come on.
DeBoer knew that these things were coming down the pipeline, and he knew he had an opportunity at it.
Yes, he did.
And he knew that he was going to take one of those opportunities. He was not coming back to UW unless everything fell flat on its face, and he knew it wouldn't do that. But yes, now he has to lie because he has to pretend that he was never going to leave, because you never know in coaching circles when you might need another job. You never know if the AD at UW is going to leave and be an AD at a school that you want to coach at later. You never know if there's a younger brother that's coming down the pipeline that you coached his older brother at UW, and maybe this is a way of sneaking a back door in and being able to recruit him to Alabama. There are just so many things that are possible to happen that you always have to say, I wouldn't have left this place or left you unless this other thing popped up. It's just part of the business, and it's why the business has to be kind of just disingenuous.
Certainly it is. That's why there is no trust, and I would never hold that much trust. I mean, even Jonathan Smith surprised me, so I can be an idiot on some of this stuff. I find it interesting. Saban was talking about doing this for a while. He told Greg Byrne, kind of start preparing for me to leave. And so Byrne got a little bit of a jump on it. It seems like maybe not, but the takeaway I had from this piece at ESPN was that maybe he wasn't ready to leave. Evidently, something happened in their locker room. They lost to Michigan, and he cites in the story just how appalled he was of how his team acted. And he basically says, you win with class, you have to lose with class. We could have won. We didn't. We didn't execute. They did. You give them credit. I just want to know what happened in that locker room to get Nick Saban to go, to hell with this, actually. I don't want to have a goodbye victory season tour. I'm done now. I'm out. And I didn't know I was going to leave even the day I did. Yeah, you did. You just didn't want to face it, so you distracted yourself with stuff. Man, whatever happened in that locker room, it broke him. It finally broke Nick Saban. Whatever those kids were saying or doing after losing to Michigan, I'd love to know. I want a 30 for 30 on it.
Yeah, the article did cite throwing helmets and stuff like that, but
there was more to it than just that.
Yeah,
Come on.
I do wonder if the underlying actual shot was these kids are acting very immature, and I want to know the exact things that they were doing, but they are very immature, and I'm done with it. And also, after hearing you talk about Kalen leaving and the way that he did it, and just absolutely upsetting his entire team. You think of a perfect example of a coach being honest with his guys. You're like, does that exist? Yes, it happened last year. That speech, and I'm not talking about publicly, I'm talking about the speech that Deion Sanders gave to his kids at Jackson State before he took the Colorado job. And it was a perfect quote. Says, you're either moving up or you're getting fired in this business. If you succeed, you're moving up. And I think if Kalen had an ounce of sincerity saying something like that to his Washington kids, it probably wouldn't have gone over the way that he did, because Deion was probably doing the same damn thing, negotiating deals during the middle of that great season that Jackson State was having to go to Colorado. However, he handled it much better. He was more honest, and his kids understood that. Kalen's just like, I love you. I want to be here. Oh, I guess I don't want to be here, and we're done.
Yeah.
But that's also that's the business. You have to say that you love these people, and people. Yes, the way that Deion handled it is more of the fair approach to it.
It's just blunt honesty. I mean, that's what it is.
I look at well, they
not
don't.
all of them.
They
no,
do not
all of them.
And I look at it the
So
same way that I would look at Sam Presti in Philadelphia. Right? He came out and said, "We are going to be garbage."
I mean, in Oklahoma City.
Sorry, the process.
Daryl Morey.
The process 76ers. Who was the GM? Was it not Presti? Anyways,
yeah.
My point stands on this: is the 76ers came out and outright said, "We are going to suck," and we are going. Thank you,
Yeah.
Hinkie.
Yeah.
I knew it ended with an E. He came out and
Presti actually ends with an I.
I know, but it ends with that E at the end. Presti.
The English
Hinkie.
language sucks.
But what I'm saying here is
Your point. Sorry.
with the 76ers, he came out and he said,
Yeah.
"We are going to suck and we are going to be horrible and we are going to tank on purpose." And everyone came out and killed him. But he was honest. He told you what every other garbage team
That was too
is
much
doing,
honesty, though.
And he's tanking.
It was too
And
much honesty.
sometimes there's too much honesty. If DeBoer is being super honest with his players the entire time of like, "Hey, look, I like it here, but if I get an opportunity to bounce and go elsewhere," I think that could affect how players play for him, the players that he's able to get, the players that he's able to retain. And I think it could have changed how that season went.
Poll question up. Who's a better coach, Mike Norvell or Kalen DeBoer? That's who it boiled down to. Lanning not really in the front. Sarkisian was going to stay at Texas. Florida State was going to go after Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss if Norvell had taken the job. We wrap it up next. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
It's
quick. Will can take a hit from Mike Tyson and not be knocked out. The Seahawks have the best advantage in the first round. Merrill Hodge broke our brains because evaluating just one player is an impossibility. Ken Barkley's dancing on the graves of the Celtics. Kalen DeBoer is a fat liar. He's a big fat liar. He's a phony. That guy's a phony. Big fat phony.
Big phony.
He's a big phony. That about sum it up. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, and Ben Simmons isn't playing, and Jordan Poyer got cut.
And the Wonderlic
All the
sucks.
safeties
The
got
Wonderlic sucks. By the way, poll questions up. Who will play more games next year, Von Miller or Ben Simmons?
What if can I take neither to play a game? Is that in there?
It's not, but it should be, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm still voting Von Miller. He gets 7 games in.
That's
How many
way
games
more
did
than
Ben Simmons even play this year? I have to go look at that.
Would you consider what he did playing?
They don't have that guaranteed money in the NFL like they do in the NBA.
They don't. So, let's see.
He gets a big contract.
How many games do you think Ben Simmons played this year?
20.
Man, I said it in my updates. You're not listening, Will.
No.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, last hour, I'm pretty sure Sprague said it on the air as well. So,
yeah.
Hey, dude, I got hit in the head a lot. I got CTE. It is what it is.
There's a shot. If Miller plays and starts and doesn't get hurt, he's got a legitimate shot to beat it because he played 15. He started 12.
Oh, my God. That's brutal.
6.1 points per game.
That is unbelievable.
Look, on the Vancouver Ford text line, we just got a text right now. I'm on Ortner's side as long as Tyson hits him in the leg. See, I'm fine.
No.
The Vancouver Ford agrees with me.
That's not where the conversation
No,
is.
he agrees with me. He just said he's on my side.
Yeah, that person's missing the game.
I'm trying to think of a
Incorrect.
boxing
The
match.
game was you taking a punch to the face,
Yeah.
even if you were trying to duck it and surviving. Well, actually, maybe surviving
surviving.
it or even not getting knocked
I just
out.
have to beat the 10 count.
Well, I'm trying to think of a boxing
Yes,
match
I agree
where
with that.
anybody ever got hit in the legs. This isn't kickboxing. This is
Yes,
boxing.
UFC.
Right, guy? Yeah, thank you. God.
Oh, man.
I think I would lose a lot faster to like a UFC fighter than a boxer.
Well, yeah, because they can bull rush.
They
you,
would choke
and
me.
you're
They would choke me out so fast.
and you're yeah.
I'd have no idea what was happening.
Can
Some
you
people
tap
would
out
sign up
as
for
they're
that.
running at you?
Yeah, I quit.
Like, oh, no.
The Entourage
Run up
movie
the
when Ronda
cage.
Rousey's coming.
You're sitting at the top of the cage. You're like straddling, like, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm out. You win. You win.
I hit the button.
I was wrong.
Are you guys? Again, I asked this earlier, but I'll ask it again. Are you guys excited for? We got a Celtics Nuggets game tonight. TNT. I don't know about Jaylen Brown yet, but like if Jaylen Brown plays, you get full strength Celtics against the Nugs.
Give me some Tatum v. Jokic action. I'm down.
I don't know, dude. It's college basketball time. I'm
You're all in on the college hoops.
College hoops.
Tournaments are starting now.
WCC starts
Yeah.
today. Pilots tomorrow night.
Yeah, Pilots didn't have to play in the first game. They won 2 games to
Yeah.
end their year.
They went from like 8 to 6 in 2 games. It was huge.
Did you see the Lady Ducks lost by 49 points?
I saw that at the gym, and that was bad.
Kelly Graves, like 3 games ago, was like, no, we're fine. We're going to go in the right direction. And I think they lost every game after that by 30 or more.
And they only put up 30.
Yeah.
30 points?
30 points was their
Yeah.
total. That's
Oh.
a high school team total.
Oh, speaking of high school, did you guys see
I did.
last
Grant
night?
and Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Insane ending.
What an insane. All the way down, steal, layup, huge.
Well,
and that's
for-
in the quarterfinals.
For somebody that got the bracket really wrong the other day when I talked about this, I mixed the boys and the girls up. I saw the ending of this. The kid on Grant shot it. He airballed it. And his guy runs down and gets the layup. He just stood there like emotionally devastated. Got to get back. Get back. I'm at practice and games. This is me. Get back. Get back.
Play
I
some
like-
defense.
Get it into their heads.
Yeah, that was a great ending. I mean, the New Jersey one, I don't know if you talked about that yesterday. A crazy ending there.
I did not know. I didn't
Oh,
talk about New Jersey
dude.
high school basketball. I'm sorry.
Guy hits a last.
How dare I?
Well, guy hits a last second shot. They count it, then they go back, rule it. Doesn't count now. Everyone's saying that they rigged
They have
the
instant
game.
replay in high school?
No, they just debated it.
You can't do that.
That's what I'm saying.
That seems wrong.
Everyone's saying it's rigged.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Ortner, thanks for hopping in. Schulte, thanks for filling in. We'll talk to you guys bright and early tomorrow. Sprague in the line. Get the sponsors in early. Thanks for hanging out on YouTube, the Odyssey app, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow, 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan.
I
I'm Trista Crick with BetQL. A new baseball season is right around the corner, but there's still time to bet on some MLB futures. Here's one I love. Last year, the Braves' Matt Olson went wild, hit 43 home runs. This year, his home run prop is 43.5. Hit the under. It's hard to top a career high 2 years in a row. And even though I think he's in for a big year, I just don't see him hitting 44 homers. Bet the under and thank me later. I'm Trista Crick, helping you beat the books and bet smarter with BetQL. Download the BetMGM app today.